Well. Good evening, loyal opposition. If you can just confirm that you're seeing me okay and you're hearing me all right, that would be great. I'm just trying out some of my new backgrounds, my virtual backgrounds. I'm learning and I'm experimenting with some things. So bear with me as I try out a few things. But it's so good to be with you tonight. Great to have you all joining us. And indeed, great to have Dave with us again tonight to look after all of the stuff that's going on in the background, all the music, and very shortly he's going to be playing the national anthem for us. But let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you to another Marcia Week show, another Monday evening, April the 14th, just a few days, just about 7 days away from the most solemn celebration of the Christian calendar across the world, not just in Barbados, but across the world. In the expression of Easter. Of course, this is a short week, and on Friday evening, um, we are going to be on Friday. Sorry, it's going to be Good Friday, and then of course next week Monday, a bank holiday, Easter Monday. But of course, the most solemn celebration of Christendom is on Sunday, Easter Sunday, and of course. We engaged a march on Saturday with regards to the Vybz Kartel show that is scheduled or was scheduled. I'm speaking prophetically, I hope, for Easter Sunday, and the church has voiced its opposition to it. And I'm going to touch a little bit on the matter of opposition in just a few moments after we have played the national anthem and we have said our national pledge. So let me take this opportunity to welcome just a few of you before we go into the national anthem. Judy, great to have you again, and Monica, Joyanne, Faith, and Marcia, that always keeps me on my toes. Flojo Maloney, Dalton Spencer, great to have you with us. Sir Alfred, it's always great to have the diaspora joining us on the show. So, sir, we thank you for being here again this evening. Ryan Rock and Judith Ann. Well, of course, Judith, I did welcome you a few minutes ago. PUBG Live. I am not sure. I hope I got that right. And incidentally, it really has been a pleasure meeting so many of you that are coming up to me and introducing yourselves as who this is on the show, who this is on the show. Really appreciate it. You might find I don't remember your name immediately. It's going to take me a few years to connect the faces and the names, but it's really great to get to meet you in reality. So whenever we are on those marches, whenever we are on these roadside parliaments, please just feel free to come right on up and introduce yourself. It's great to get to meet all of you. Justin Time and Matthew Brown, Sandra Brewster, Lucinda Aline, really lovely to have you all with us again. Born Again 48. Great to have you with us again tonight. We want to welcome all of you of the loyal opposition and strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith, as I believe how Rose often puts it. So let me mimic her a little bit tonight and welcome all of you, regardless of where you're joining us from around the world. You are probably joining us as well after the live show on one of our recording videos. We want to thank you for tuning in on us. And of course, here with you that are joining us live, we want to encourage you to not only share, but to give us the likes. All right, share, as Marcia would put it, but give us the thumbs up, give us the likes, so that the algorithms on YouTube and I think Facebook will pick us up a lot better, a lot quicker, and put us ahead of the game on these platforms. So go right ahead and share, go right ahead and like, and just encourage the persons that you share with to like us. Get your family, your friends, let them join us here tonight. I'll be touching on a few things, and may not get through all of them, but that's not the critical issue. This is a platform where we learn, we interact, we hear from you, we hear from the other persons that join us, our guests, And we're going to be touching on a number of things tonight, and we're going to be looking at some of the aspects regarding these matters of the tariffs that would be impacting and affecting Barbados. And I do want to say a couple of things on that as we go on into the night. All right. So, welcome every single one of you. We're up to 292. And as Marcia always tells me, and as we have agreed, once we clear that 200 mark, we are going to go into the national anthem and our pledge. All right. So, Dave, would you just let that national anthem of Barbados roll, please? And right after that, the national pledge. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much, Dave. Thank you, thank you. And now our national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. I want to repeat that last line. And by my living, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Of course, this show goes all over the world, and we want that we are faithful and we are committed and we are following this national pledge where we are going to uphold and defend the honor of our country, Barbados, and our flag, and we are going to do credit to this country wherever these videos are shared. So we want to welcome all of you, Shirley Hasbra, Sandra Watkins, Nicole Taiwu, Bonnie Springer, all of you. We want to welcome all of you to the show tonight. And I want to take the opportunity to thank again Marcia for entrusting to me the responsibility of hosting the show on Monday evenings. I am honored and certainly privileged to be in the place where I'm able to do so. And again, I want to thank Dave right now at the beginning of the show, because sometimes we forget the technical assistance that we receive in the background. And I want to thank Dave so very much for all that he does in order to help to keep the technological aspect of the show flowing. And so we appreciate all of you being here tonight. And let me quickly make a few little comments regarding a number of things that have happened. Of course, I have just recently heard just a few minutes ago that there has been, and from what I understand, there has been another shooting in the IV, and apparently someone has been killed there. But we are going to await further information as it comes to hand, that we can share maybe before the show is over with regards to that. This, I don't even know. I have lost count. And maybe somebody can tell me the count. And let me, having said that, let me say this. There's an audio recording making the rounds done by a Mr. Waldron, who has attempted in that recording to suggest a number of what I could consider, and I'm going to be, you expect me as, I don't like to use the term, thanks, Sandra, 17 murders, 17 deaths. And Sandra, I don't know if you'll be able to tell me how many are men, how many are women. It would be interesting to know that if you can find that for me, Sandra. But I try to be as polite as I can be because I am a minister of religion. I am a pastor. I'm a reverend. I am a ministerial, religious minister. There's a certain decorum that you expect from me. There's a certain delivery you expect from me. There's a certain decency you expect from me, and I'm going to do everything in my power not to disappoint you. But there has been a video, there has been an audio caption, audio recording making the rounds by a Mr. Waldron. And I'm calling his name because he calls his name in the recording. And I would have to say that, and I'm going to be very polite. It really is his comments are disingenuous. Let me be nice, okay? He makes some totally ludicrous remarks concerning the dissent and the objection that people are making where the government is concerned. Listen, this is a democratic society. People are entitled to their opinions. You don't have to agree with them and you don't have to like them. But Mr. Waldron, you live in a privileged environment where you yourself can express what you want to express concerning what you feel about people who are objectionable to your government. So too the people who are objectionable to your government have a right to their opinion as well. And if you don't like it, move to another country. It is really as simple as that. And I would have to say that I would consider that he is, Mr. Waldron, is a paid, dispatched individual, who operative, I think they would call him, and who attempts to discredit, or is attempting to discredit in his recording, anybody who voices opposition to this current administration. And I'm going to be polite and just leave it at that. But I want to take up a couple of things that he has said. He talks a lot of nonsense about people talking about how there's been no consultation. And he asks the question, where has it ever happened? One of the things, Mr. Waldron, that you have to realize is that we don't live in the days of Errol Barrett anymore. We don't live in the days of Tom Adams. We don't live in the days of even Owen Arthur. The generation of people that exist today is not the generation where a government can do whatever it feels like doing and nobody questions it, nobody opposes it. And I'm speaking about citizens. I'm not talking about the political opposition. We used to live in a period of time where people didn't pay any attention. That is not the current state of affairs. And Mr. Waldron, if you want to operate in that realm, let me invite you to do something that I don't believe in. Die and be reincarnated in another time, or find somebody who can carry you back in time. Something along that line, okay? Because one of the things I understand is that in life, there is one guarantee, and that is change. Things change, sir. We are no longer the people, we are no longer the tolerable people who used to exist during the days of Barrett Adams, Sandy Ford, and we're no longer those people. We are no longer those people. Wake up to the reality that your government, because you are speaking on their behalf, I gather from the recording, your government campaigned on a promise of transparency and accountability. And don't talk to me nonsense about no town hall meetings when we know that every question, every presentation made by the public is vetted before it happens. And we've had people share with us that people who have presented, who have told us they've had to say what they're going to be asking or presenting before they can get there to say anything about it. And furthermore, sir, we are now a republic. We were independent in 1966 and we became a republic in 2022. The definition of a republic is by, for, and of the people. The other ridiculous thing that he expressed is that when a government is elected, it has been given a mandate to govern. And he expresses it with the attitude as if we have been given the mandate so we can do whatever we like. No, you cannot. You are accountable to the people of this country, every single member of this country, whether they are of voting age or not. You are not a law unto yourself, and you are accountable. And if you don't like to be accountable, resign, give up the government, and let people who are humble enough to govern a country where they accept the fact that they are accountable to the people, let them govern. If you want things to remain the same, they tell me that that is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. So let us be clear. Let us be clear. Clearly, on the basis of what I listened to in that recording, you are insane and in need of a psychological analysis. And I would recommend to you strongly to go and see a psychiatrist, because this is not the Barbados that used to be. This is the Barbados that is. So let me just end that there. The second thing I want to touch on quickly is that I listened to a report concerning Madam MARSHA CADDLE, and I heard her speaking in her constituency meeting, which I think, according to the report I heard, was hers. And I didn't. There was something I missed. And I don't know if any of you all heard it and I missed it or it wasn't said. But she indicated that she would continue to represent the constituency and make, as a candidate and so on. But I did not hear her indicate that she would continue as a candidate of the Barbados Labour Party. I don't know if I missed it or if it was a fact that she didn't say it. I'm just trying to because I had a number of interruptions when I heard the recording. So I don't want to accuse her of anything. I think she's a fine lady. I have listened to many of her presentations, and I think she's a thinking person. And the mere fact that she took the step that she took speaks more or says more than has been expressed. But I am not going to get into speculations concerning that matter. And third thing quickly I want to touch on, and there she is. And one of the things I love about women like this are some of the things that they do that are not in the box. They're out of the box. Her hairstyle is not in the box. She is a confident woman in herself, clearly. And there are things like that that tell me the kind of person I am dealing with. I understand she is still running based on what I heard as well, M. Gardner. I do understand that. What I am not sure I heard was if she was running for the BLP, but I'm just going to leave that there. The third thing I want to touch on quickly is that I listened to a report concerning Minister Colin Jordan, Minister of Social something. I don't know. I lose track of these ministers because they're changing them around and so on. But anyhow, and I think I heard him speaking concerning the centralizing of social services. And I hope I am not representing him incorrectly. I hope not. And if I am, I'm going to ask any of you, if I'm representing him incorrectly, please correct me, because I'm not beyond making mistakes. The only person I know who has never made a mistake is Almighty God and the Lord Jesus Christ. They're the only two people. And even no matter who you are not a mistake. God does not sponsor flops. He does not engage matters of mistakes. Okay, so I am very confident with the fact that she's one of those people. But I listened to him. Sorry, speaking about Mr. Jordan, I listened to him, and I couldn't understand exactly what he was trying to suggest concerning the centralizing of social services. And I was thinking to myself, the majority of the people who are going to be using these social services are going to be the people in need, in the lower aspect of the revenue generating area of our country. And I wondered to myself, you mean to tell me that you're going to centralize the social services so that now the people who are most in need of it have to travel from all the way in St. Lucie, St. Peter, St. Andrew, St. Joseph, St. John, pay $3.50 bus fare coming and $3.50 going, bus fare going. I don't know if with the new electric buses that the bus fare is going to drop off and it's going to be free. I don't know, because the electric buses are not using diesel, so they shouldn't be using up they shouldn't be using any fossil fuels at the Barbados Transport Board, from what I understand. And I'm being very sarcastic, because I don't know how to go and charge the charging stations, how to go and provide the electricity for the charging stations. I don't know if they have solar energy established at the transport board, and I don't know if it's enough to do the charging for all these buses. I remember some months ago reading in the United States in an article of a trucking company that attempted this, and it cost them a fortune. Almost, as a matter of fact, they almost shut down the electric grid in their country when they started to charge all of their trucks one night, and they got rid of all of their electric trucks and went back to the fossil fuel vehicles. But anyhow, that's another subject for another time. So I was just wondering, the people who need this most, and I wondered, wouldn't it make more sense to develop something along the lines of what we used to have, what they used to call, just looking here at my notes to see what I have here. These areas of governance in different parts of the country, where these social services are duplicated, like how we used to get the Pure to Bakery vans, the Pure to Bakery carts. Remember that? How we used to get them all around the country, and Pure to Bakery used to disperse the bread to those carts, and the carts would serve the people all around the country. I have not forgotten those days. And I was just wondering, sir, if it wouldn't make more sense for us to decentralize these social services, establish them, whether you want to do it in constituencies or in parishes, managed adequately, professionally, efficiently, with the same resources that persons would find in a centralized location, all the things the same way, because we are now digital. We now have phenomenal access through the internet, through digital aspects and so on. I was just wondering if it wouldn't make more sense, because of the people you're dealing with who would need these services most of all, if it would not make sense to decentralize them, have a central area in St. Andrew, St. Joseph, St. Lucie, St. Peter, St. John, St. Philip, St. George, St. Thomas, where people, rather than having to travel, now I don't know where the center is going to be, but if it's in the Bridgetown area, rather than everybody having to travel into Bridgetown, and you're trying to get rid of the load in Bridgetown as it is already, to have them go to their particular area, whether it be something like the polyclinics, something along that line. That's just a thought that I had. Now, clearly, I only have now 5 minutes left in what I want to share with you tonight. And very quickly, before I go lose my 5 minutes or 3 minutes, I just want to touch quickly on an article that I've been given permission by the writer to share. And the article is written by Mr. Anthony Wood. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Mr. Anthony Wood, Mr. Anthony Wood was formerly a member of the cabinet of Barbados several years ago. And not only was he a member of cabinet, but he was also, and I'm just trying to get the information up in front of me, because I don't like to make mistakes that I can avoid. He is a leading economist in the country and former lecturer in economics, banking, and finance at the Cave Hill campus of the University of the West Indies. And I want to believe that as a result of that position, he obviously doesn't have any gripes at the moment to deal with where the government is concerned. He is not trying to win a seat or run in elections at this point, and he certainly is expressing himself within the context of his expertise. And I would think that it would be of value for the Barbadian people to listen to this gentleman who does significant research and digs into matters. He is not a fly-by-night superficial individual, but I got a article that he shared, and it was concerning the prime minister's recent signing, presence at the recent signing of a 75 million US dollar loan from the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean. Here we go again. Where she sought to defend her administration's borrowing policy. And the article goes on to say, though not mentioning the names of persons who comment publicly on the implications of her administration's excessive borrowing policy, the Prime Minister noted that when people have nothing else to criticize, then they try to create something and a monster of something. That is a disingenuous statement to be made by any leader of any country, because what that person is suggesting is that I can do as I want to do, and you don't have any right to criticize me. She went on to say, and I'm quoting from the article, referencing the decline in the debt to gross domestic product ratio and the presence of the International Monetary Fund, which Mr. Woods debunks. The Prime Minister also stated, I just want to give Bajans that context because of all of the swirling of misinformation and judgments that are being made. This is the same lady who got on a international media with Amanpour and talked about misinformation and false information during the pandemic when we were speaking the truth. And the fact of the matter is that now the pandemic is over and the truth is coming out. The Supreme Court has made Pfizer release it. The CDC has had to release everything. The FDA has had to release everything. Now everybody knows that what we were saying was true. And people like herself and other leaders of the world who were trying to indicate that what was being shared by persons like Dr. McCullough and Dr. Maloney was false information and misinformation was actually factual. Even my colleague in Trinidad, Dr. Michael McDowell, and the TNT response group, they held several online conferences and seminars with regards to the pandemic. And we showed, and it was proven, every single thing we said was correct, right down to the mortality, right down to the matters of remdesivir that was not supposed to be used, when the chief medical officer here was saying something else, and the president of the the Barbados Medical Fraternity here was saying something else. Then, you know, when you lie long enough and you lie often enough, you will find that people don't believe anything you have to say, and they don't trust you. So I want to just make those quick comments, and as we go on a Monday evenings, I'm going to be trying to share some of the views of Mr. Anthony Wood, because I believe in his expertise and his drilling down into economic matters to explain them for the people of Barbados. So I make no apologies when it comes to these matters. And I find it very disingenuous with regards to what the Prime Minister has to say when you are taking criticism. Criticism is good. It helps you to stop and rethink and review what you are doing and look to check to see if you are not making a mistake or error, and that you are doing what the people expect you to do and not what you want to do. Okay? It's the same thing I have to do as a minister of the gospel. I have to find out what God wants of me and not my idea and my opinion. So the Prime Minister needs to do the same thing when it comes to the people of Barbados. But that's enough from me. I want to welcome my first guest on the show tonight, and we're going to be looking at a number of aspects. But our first guest on the show tonight is going to be helping us to address some of the matters to do with the impacts of the tariffs that have been implemented by the Trump administration in the United States. So I want to welcome Mr. Grenville Phillips. Good evening, Grenville. It's a pleasure to have you joining us on the Marcia Week show this evening. Welcome to the show, and welcome to the loyal opposition of Barbados. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, pleasure to
Uh,
have you with us. I
yes.
understand that you're going to be sharing some matters. You're going to be discussing some matters
Okay.
with us as the people to help us to understand how the policies that are being implemented in the United States. I believe the area would be probably mostly the area with the tariffs, how they're going to be impacting the region and by extension the island. So please, sir, go right
Yes.
ahead.
Okay. Well, I would like to put it all in context. Um, People, for as long as we've been in communities, have been trading. We have the earliest known records of Sumer in 4000 BC, where the evidence is that people were trading. We have quantities of materials and their value. And so people were trading all the time. And the intent was for fair trade. I give my labor, and it has a certain value, and some goods are worth a certain amount, and therefore we can trade, and we are both happy at the end of the day. And that's how trade worked between communities, between nations, up until around the 1400s during the European Age of Discovery. And that is when the Europeans discovered countries in the Caribbean and South America and North America and South Asia and Africa. And rather than having fair trade, they would trade the shells of sea slugs, cowrie shells, as they call them, for gold and for crafts and for people. So they basically sold garbage for treasure. And that's how the Europeans were able to amass their great wealth. Now they tried it in China, but they would have none of it. What the Chinese wanted was silver. And the Japanese also wanted silver. So they were more advanced. Back then, China was very advanced. Japan was very advanced compared to Europe. And they wanted silver. But they took advantage of the African countries and others in trading them with garbage. Now, when some of the neighbors were upset, then they started to add guns to garbage to destabilize the relationships between neighboring countries. And then when the countries decimated themselves, then they would then colonize them. So we then had the colonial period. After World War II, things changed in that the former colonies became independent. And with independence, their economies had to have some time to grow. And therefore, they were allowed what is called preferential access to the former colonial powers' markets. So they can sell, like us, sell sugar from our sugar cane, and we got a higher price that England would pay us. And same thing for other colonies trading with their former colonial powers. And they were to do this so that they could learn to trade internationally. In 1964, that's the year I was born actually, the United Nations set up something called UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. So that was formed in 1964 to help developing countries who were becoming independent access the benefits of this globalized economy. And it became globalized, as I said, in the 1400s with the European so-called age of discovery, as they're discovering other countries and linking the east to the west and the north to the south, and therefore you had that global trade. But we needed help as we were becoming independent, and therefore we were allowed to have this preferential treatment. So 30 years later, the World Trade Organization was established to set rules for global trade and to regulate global trade. And they also had another aim or responsibility, and that was to help developing countries improve our capacity to trade so that we can engage in this global trade. 10 years later, in 2005, UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, held a 3-day expert meeting on trade and development aspects of professional services and regulatory frameworks, because mostly the trade was in goods, sugar, textiles, gold, mining products, and those things. But increasingly, the trade became with services. So engineering services and construction services and medical services and other services, and therefore they needed a framework. How do we deal with this? How do we regulate this? And therefore we had a 3-day expert meeting in Geneva in 2005, and Barbados attended that framework 3-day meeting, and there were 2 representatives. One representing the government, and I represented the private sector in Barbados for professional services. And after that 3-day meeting, Barbados got a special commendation for our contributions to that meeting. Now, the reason why we got that special commendation is because we were uniquely prepared to contribute to that meeting, because in 2002, I just happened to be the chairman of the Barbados Professional Services Export Committee. And I was invited to chair that committee by Lynette Eastman, who was, I believe, the Minister of Commerce, or some role there. And she was, I guess, our lead negotiator with the free trade area of the Americas. It was a free trade with Mexico, the US, and Canada. And to her credit, she wanted to know what was the private sector's position on this, and what barriers were we facing, and what could the government do to facilitate fair trade within the free trade area of the Americas, FTAA. And so I got 25 professional organizations together, and we tried trading in Canada, in the US, and Mexico to find out what the actual barriers to trade were. Because on paper, these countries will come to the negotiating meetings and say, well, we have no barriers. You can come and trade with us. Just sign the agreement and let us start trading. But we decided, well, let's find out what the barriers are. And we did, and found out that there were barriers that kept us out. It was impossible to trade in the US and Canada because of the barriers that they had set up. After that, I then became the president of the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries for two years. There was a new organization that the Professional Services Export Committee sort of morphed into. And there we encouraged the private sector and all stakeholders to be internationally competitive, because we know what's coming. You see, the World Trade Organization has given us some time to get our house in order, has given us some time to protect our local markets. And we are able then to prevent larger, more mature companies in larger countries from competing with the smaller, younger, emerging companies in Barbados. So we can keep them out, or we can limit what they can do in Barbados only for a certain period of time. So that's the global system. You have to eventually participate in the global system. You have no choice.
Right.
Every
Right.
country has to um, participate, but to make sure that it's not terribly unfair, you're given time, a couple of decades, to get your house in order to become internationally competitive. So those who have no degree should try and get a bachelor, because they'll be competing with people in other countries with their bachelors. And if you really want to compete, if you have a bachelor, try and get a master in the area that you want to specialize in. Because you're competing with people who have master's degrees. And we have the University of the West Indies here, and also all the universities around the world are open to us once we can speak the language. Even if we can't, we can go there and learn. Like in Cuba and in China, we go there and we learn. So if you have a master's, we'll go and get a doctorate in the area so that you can compete internationally, because internationally these large companies have these persons, and therefore we can compete with them. And therefore, we should start competing in our local markets and competing in our regional markets and hopefully internationally. So for 2 years, we encouraged that and encouraged the government. All right, you need to do things to encourage the competitiveness of the private sector and the competitiveness of the public sector. So we did a study worth about $500,000, and we donated all of our time to do the study, identifying what were the barriers to trade for professional services in Barbados wanted to trade in Canada and the US and Mexico. And what do the professional services in Barbados, what do they need to do to become internationally competitive so that they can compete with those in other nations? And also, what does the government need to do to facilitate the private sector becoming more productive and the public sector becoming more productive? And all that information was put into a report and given to the government. So we then attended the meeting then, UNCTAD 3-day expert meeting in 2005 with all this knowledge. And we had by that time the best framework for negotiating a trade agreement, because we knew what we had to do. After that meeting, we were then, Barbados was then coincidentally, I guess maybe because the FTAA fell through, we were negotiating with the Europeans, the European Partnership Agreement. But for whatever reason, rather than using the Barbados framework for negotiating, which was proven, which worked well, I should say, right, the FTAA, Free Trade Area of the Americas, in 2005, the negotiations failed. Because it's a lot better than to have no deal than to have a terrible deal. We don't want a terrible deal. We prefer no deal than a terrible deal. And if the other countries are not willing to remove their unfair trade barriers, it's better we not sign anything. And therefore, that negotiation fell through, and we did not pursue the FTAA. But Barbados pursued the CSME instead, but also the European Partnership Agreement. They came in and decided that they want to access to our markets, and the government decided not to negotiate using the proven Barbados framework, but to use the worst possible way of negotiating a trade agreement. And when I got to look at the draft, I was appalled, and I warned the government of Barbados and the Caribbean governments, please don't sign that, because it is extremely unfair. It allows the Europeans full access to our market, and it stops us. It stops a lot of the Barbadian service providers from benefiting from it in Europe. So essentially, it let in the entertainers who were allowed to sing for their suffer, but it would not let in the construction industry, where you can do a lot. You can not just have a little supper, but you can feed people for many years. So they're the lucrative areas. They blocked us from entering, but we then opened the gates completely so that they can then enter our markets and do whatever they want. Terrible agreement. It was the worst agreement, I think, since we were sold for trinkets and sea snails. But nevertheless, that's what they did. And it seems that they were using the same playbook that they used back during the 14 and 1500s, where they mainly negotiate with persons that find their trinkets marvelous. So usually when you're going to negotiate, when the Europeans are negotiating and the Canadians are negotiating or the Americans are negotiating, they're negotiating on behalf of their private sector, who's supposed to go into these other countries and exploit them and make a lot of money for their own country. So when they say exploit, not in a bad way, you're just going to compete then. You're going to do business in that country and hopefully win, and therefore bring more funds back to your own country. So what they do then, they come to their meetings with their private sector, who can then say, well, no, this is not right, or no, we tried operating in this market and this didn't work, and therefore they get to negotiate something in their favor. We, however, don't do that. So the Barbados model that we had before was that we did it. We identify what the barriers were, and therefore we can come to the table and say, no, on paper, yes, you have no trade barriers, but when you actually try to trade engineering services, you say, well, first I need to join your professional association. I need a PN. Fine. How do I get a PN? Well, I need a social security number. How do I get that? I need to be a resident. Right? Mm-hmm. So obviously you're telling me I can't. And to get that PN, I need to work in a Canadian company. So I need to go to a Canadian company and say, please allow me to work with you for 1 year so that I can then get this PN and compete against you. Who will hire me? No one. So yes, on paper, you're allowed to compete. But when you actually try to compete, whether there or in the US, when you try to compete, there are these barriers that keep you out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can't get your social security number. Right? So you have to go and be resident there. If you want to compete, I have to be resident there. So they just make it basically impossible. So yes, theoretically, there may be a company that will hire me, right, for a year, and so that I can compete against them, but it's unlikely. It's possible, but it's unlikely. So we identified the things. So why do they want to come into our markets? Why do companies in the developed countries want to come in developing countries' markets? Why? Because we are the ones in developing countries that need to build new airports and new seaports and skyscrapers. They're already developed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we need the skyscrapers and the water treatment plants and the infrastructural networks, hospitals, utility networks. Also, we have natural resources, not in Barbados so much, but Guyana and others have natural resources, and therefore they want to get in there so that they can mine their natural resources, their gold and minerals and oil and gas. And also they have a new...
No, I was just going to ask you, what about cheaper labor?
Well, they don't really need that from us. They don't really need that from us. They want to come down here because, remember, they don't really want the cheap labor. That's for goods, not for services. Services, you pay services well. Right, that's why they want to keep that from us. They don't want us. What do we have a strength in Barbados? We have strength in building hotels, right? And therefore, our hotel rooms are pretty well nicer sometimes than when you go overseas. Our hotels are beautiful. The tourists tell us so. But we cannot build a single hotel in Europe.
That's
Why?
true. That's true.
Because the Europeans, they say, you can only stay in our country for 6 months, and to build a hotel is over a year. So that's ridiculous.
Mhm.
But that's what we signed. So as I said, it's a terrible agreement. It keeps us out of lucrative areas. No, it's okay for the entertainers. They go over there, sing for their supper, and then come back here. But that feeds them for one day. So they're happy enough to have people come in there to compete in that area where it's not lucrative. Now we will say, oh, well, what about Rihanna? Yeah, well, she didn't not sing for a supper. No, she's selling Fenty Beauty and whatever it is. Right? She's selling goods. But for entertainers, they go there and they sing for their supper. I'm not using that as in a disparaging way. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
that's what they
yeah,
do, right?
yeah.
Because
That's the reality.
the funds that they get is all right. It's a decent amount, but it will feed them for a little while, as opposed to the lucrative areas when you're doing a $500 million hotel or something. That's different than a little contract where you get 30,000 US or whatever they get. So it's completely different. So what they've done is they've designed this partnership, European partnership agreement, to allow us to come in and compete on small things. So our entertainers compete with their entertainers in singing in a bar or singing in a stadium, whatever it is. Whereas the large buildings, we are kept out. So it's those sort of things. So what can we do about this now? Well, here's the problem, because we lead it into it by talking about the Trump tariffs. The European Partnership Agreement, every once in a while, European Union representatives publicly state, in Barbados, they come into Barbados and publicly state how shocked they are that Barbados is not yet preparing for something that's coming, because they gave us 25 years. They gave us a 25-year head start. They said, all right, you have 25 years, and during this 25 years, you can come into Europe and you can engage and try and get work. However, in 25 years, we are coming into your country and we are competing with your people. Therefore, you need to prepare yourselves for this so that it doesn't appear to be too unfair. And then activists start acting up and say, well, look how they're treating them. So they gave us 25 years to have training wheels on, and we can keep them out for 25 years. Trump has decided, all right, these developing countries have had enough time. They've had enough time to prepare themselves to become internationally competitive. Therefore, training wheels come off and start competing globally. So that's basically what the tariffs are about. You want to
Yeah.
compete, take off your training wheels. You had 20 years, well, according to the Europeans, 25 years, to learn to compete, and therefore we can't do this forever. Even the WTO notes that you can't do it forever. You can't protect your market forever. You can't keep out the Europeans and the Canadians and the Americans and the Asians. You can't keep out more developed countries forever. It has to come to an end. And Trump seems to be forcing this for whatever reasons, maybe because the American economy is so much in debt. They've decided, all right, we've carried this for too long, and therefore we need to come in. So that could be a challenge depending on the developing country. So if you're a country like Singapore, who took the generous time offered them to depoliticize their public service and to remove corruption from the private sector, they're going to do well. All those countries that actually prepared for competing globally will do well, very well. Others who decided to spend that time politicizing their public services, and one of the worst, well, politicizing the public services by hiring people based on political affiliation rather than on merit, almost destroying their public services with the most ridiculous policy of last in, first out. Utterly ridiculous, which does not prepare you to compete globally. because a last in first out policy means that you hire someone, you train them for 10 years, at which time they're an expert. If you do something for 10 years, you're basically operating at an expert level. And then when they're experts and being very productive and doing well in the public sector, then a new administration comes in and they're out because they're the last in. And you get a whole new set of new people who you have to train. And therefore you do that then and you train them, and 10 years, they're experts in what they were doing in the various ministries that they were allocated to. And then they're out again. And then we have a new set coming. And again, the unions have done Barbados a grave disservice with that garbage. Because what happens now is that those who were there before and who were not part of that last in first out, they were the ones who understood, and they were the ones who were training the others, and now they're retiring. And as they're retiring from the public service, who is going to train these ones coming in? So we have shot ourselves in both feet and the arm and the back. And at this time, Trump is saying, enough of that, you all had enough time. So take off your training wheels and start competing. And the other terrible thing, so we have the unions that basically did Barbados a grave disservice, all of them that agreed to this last in first out policy, which they thought to be charitable to them, was a fair policy, but it is not in the best interest of the country. It should be lazy ones out, right? Careless ones out, conscientious ones in. Careless ones out, careful ones in, right? Lazy ones out, the ones who want to work hard in. Unproductive out, productive in. That kind of thing. But instead of that, they went, I can't even say they went back 100 years. They went back maybe to the days of slavery. I don't know, maybe at a time when they just did not understand anything. I don't know. But we came up with this utterly ridiculous thing that they agreed, that the government agreed to. Well, they had to, because they're dealing with all these public servants. But it has not served Barbados well at all, despite them jumping up and down about this social partnership. I don't know how they could have even thought of agreeing to this.
Well, Grenville, I was listening to the news today. As a matter of fact, it wasn't the news. It was actually an interview with a couple of business people in the country. I'm not sure if you might have heard it. And, one of the things that has always concerned me over the years is that whenever you start to hear about risk to increase in goods and services, but in our instance, they're particularly goods, that, you hear the merchants and everybody start to warn you about increases in prices that are going to be hitting us. In some instances, they're telling us, 30, 40, 50% increases and so on. And before anything actually begins to impact globally, we begin to see prices rising in our supermarkets, in our stores, and so on. And there's nothing. It's the current stock in the island that is here, and you already begin to see prices going up, and yet the whole aspect of what's happening globally has not actually been engaged and actually is working toward the negative aspect that we're talking about. And I'd like you to make a comment on that. And then the second area is, if there is increase, and we would expect that based on what we are hearing, there's likely going to be increases. We're hearing significant charges on Chinese vessels going into the United States, increase in tariffs and so on, where China is concerned, where we get a lot of our commodities from, and other parts of the world. Would it not be of benefit, considering the fact that when in opposition, the current government bitterly oppose the 17.5% value-added tax on goods? Would it not be of value for the government to reconsider and consider reducing that rate back to 15% to help, as it were, counter and buffer increases in prices that we could see in our stores?
Yes. So the first point, again, they keep going to the same merchants as if they are the embodiment of all knowledge. let's go back to what Trump said. Trump is very clear. We've had all this time, and rather than use the time to prepare for globalization, we've used the time to keep adding taxes or tariffs onto the goods coming into Barbados and not weaning ourselves off of them. So Trump made it clear, if you take off your tariffs, we'll take off ours. If you don't want any tariffs on products, take off yours. That's it. Now, if we had prepared, we could do that. But if we haven't prepared, then the government relies on those tariffs as revenue. So they need that revenue for the budget. So perhaps they cannot do without it. So that's the problem. That's the where we find ourselves. They dare not remove or reduce tariffs or even VAT because they need that revenue. So what they should do, and we offered as much as we could, but what they should do is so simple. What they should do is simply follow Solutions Barbados's economic plan, because our plan was reviewed by a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados, where we were bringing in a surplus of $1 billion, a surplus of $1 billion, while we were eliminating land tax, eliminating VAT, not reducing the salaries of any public servant, and not firing any public servant. Essentially, Argentina has been doing some of the things, and they're coming out looking well. It may be a coincidence, or maybe because ours were out there since 2015, they looked at our plan and they're benefiting. It may be a coincidence, but they're benefiting. Italy doing what we were doing, and they're benefiting. The fellow in El Salvador doing what we were doing and benefiting.
Yeah, yeah.
And now,
I want to throw a couple of other things in quickly with you, because our time is virtually gone.
Okay.
But just a couple of very quick things here before you run off, because you talk about revenues, but we are mindful of the fact that the government is generating close to 900 and some million, close to $1 billion in revenue through the sewage tax. And they're also generating massive profits through the tax at the pump, where we no longer pay our vehicle taxes. That was abolished, and we are now paying through the taxes at the gas pump. Certainly, yeah, I mean, certainly we are generating such massive levels of revenue there that we could, if it is managed well, because my concern is the governance and not the government, the governance, how we manage the affairs of the country. If it is managed effectively, efficiently, professionally, then certainly we can look at reducing in some areas, because we are making some massive profits in others.
Yeah, but they need the money. They need the money. If you look at the estimates, they need them. They run a deficit, right? They need, after they are taking in all this money. But yes, it's there because it's there in the estimates. So they made it very clear. We are taking in a certain amount of money, but we plan to spend a lot more, and therefore we need to now go to the markets and try and get some additional. We need to go further in debt so that we can top up what we plan to spend. So they have already made it clear in the estimates. We are receiving a certain amount, but we plan to spend more. That's where we find ourselves. So they can't reduce. They need to look at our plan. That's as simple as that. They need to look at our plan.
Yeah, I wish we had the time to explore this a lot more. Because sometimes the government thinks that people are stupid, and that the people don't know what's going on. And one of the things I've always said is some of the greatest economists are women in housekeeping. And when you consider what they do, if you want to learn how to run a budget, if you want to learn how to run a government with a bit of a deficit, you could talk with a housewife. I see them do remarkable things. I mean, that's a fact that I think anybody would admit. but I wish we had a little more time, and I
No
certainly
problem.
would love to explore this a little further at some time in the future.
Yes.
But we have to shift into gear on a couple of other areas on the show tonight, and I want to
No problem.
really thank you for coming in and explaining these aspects, because I think people don't often uh, realize all that is involved when we hear people talking about trade and so on. Sometimes I think to myself, when you look at the consumer level in a country, the United States of America, if we don't have a niche market, Barbados can forget it, because we just simply can't supply the United States of America's volume of consumption. Not even the Caribbean, I think, can do that. At least that's my simple and humble opinion.
Mm.
Unless we're looking at niche markets. So, I mean, we have a massive diaspora in the United States where maybe we can be focusing on what they would be used to from their homelands and that kind of thing. But I appreciate you coming in and sharing some of
No problem.
these aspects, because I was thinking just today, because about a year or two ago, I sought to introduce to to all of the supermarkets in Barbados a Brazilian company that was capable of offering at significantly lower prices everything on our supermarket shelves. But as you said, even up to today, I messaged them to find out, in terms of shipping, can we do direct shipping out of Brazil straight to Barbados, or what is the process? Because as you mentioned, there are barriers in other areas that can prohibit and restrict that kind of trade that we want to engage. Huh?
Yes.
So I want to really thank you. I wish we had a little more time. I want to
No
thank
problem.
you for
I
coming in
can come back and we can
being with
discuss it further.
us. I would
Yes.
love to have that. So we'll talk with Marcia
Uh,
about it and see what we can have done in the future. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so very much, and we'll be in touch. We certainly will be in
Yes.
touch.
Okay.
Well, folk, we want to thank Mr. Phillips for coming in, and we're getting ready to move into our next segment, which is we're going to be covering what you would know we introduced here on the show, really very productive with Marcia, what we call Mike on the Move. And so we want to listen to some of these mics on the move that she has been able to accomplish over the past week or so. This first one here has to do with the Blaze Athletic Club, and they're seeking some donations to assist with one of the young athletes as they travel to Canada to compete, and where they need to generate the funds is not necessarily for more athletic gear, but they need donations to travel and for aspects of accommodation. So we want to hear a little bit as it relates to this particular area. So Dave, go ahead and run that video, please.
Oh no. What's difference? No sit-ups? Yeah, sit ups. Oh. Oh, this is what they're doing here. Yes. Oh, I can't believe it. These guys are working so hard. Listen, let's get them to Canada, y'all. Get them to Canada. Come on, everybody. Come on, everybody. Energy. Energy. Wow, look at them. They have just ran 6,400. 6. And look at them. Oh my goodness. I don't want you to hear yourself anything about young people and that they're lazy and all of that anymore. You see them? Nobody talking about young people lazy. Look at the potential here today. Look at this potential. This is tremendous. This is amazing. This one is 13 years old. Look at him. Don't let me hear. This is the one that had the problem, had a little pain in his side, and look at him now. How many sit-ups they all just did? 40. Lord God. Oh, jeez and peace. Oh, so another group is over here? Oh, okay, they're helping each other. Don't you talk about young people being lazy. They just ran 400, y'all. Let me get this camera sorted so you can see them properly. They ran 400s and then came out here and they're doing sit-ups now. This is amazing. Although this one in the yellow didn't burst a sweat. Great. And they're helping one another. They help with one another. Yes. That's Takai there. That's Takai. What's his name? Dakari. So Dakari's finished? Dakari, how many you did? 2? Only 2 sit-ups? Oh, okay. How many you did? 10? You got 30 more, man. Come on, let's go. You're going to Canada. Canada. Think about Canada. Gold medal. Blades. Blades to the world. Blades to the world. Blades to blaze. that I couldn't do much of that after having run all of that here. Wow, the guy is still at it. Wow. I can't leave out my girl over here. Come on, do it for the ladies. Do it for the ladies. Do it for the girls. Do it for me. I pretend it's me. Look at her though. Yeah. This is a Praise Academy girl right here. Yes, she was at Praise, I think, at age 4. And still doing. Ah, no? I think it was 7. Okay, she's doing it for the ladies. She's doing 100 people.
It's gone?
Wow. She is still going. She is still going. I can't believe that. Oh, wait. You did 40 and you're going again? How many days supposed to do? I was only kidding. I didn't realize a whole 100. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm tired already. Oh, gosh. I was joking. I didn't know that it's supposed to be 100. And this coach is smiling. Look how he's smiling. Whoa. They ran 6 400s and then they have to do 100 sit-ups. Oh, gosh. Oh, no. This one barely going down. It might cheat. Sorry, I disturb you. Wow, amazing. When they are involved in things like this, then they know they can do the impossible. Nothing is, no limits. They can achieve whatever they put their hands to, they can achieve, put their minds to, they can achieve. I think that's a daddy over there waiting on his sons. He has, yeah. And they must be really proud to have them involved in this kind of activity. This is what we need. This is how we're going to. Oh, here is brother and sister. Brother and sister. Brother and sister, and they are doing it. They are doing it. Yes. Uh-huh. This is our young people. This is our future right here. This is our future. Yes. Great job. Great job. This is the future. There. Listen, you did 100 already? I know you probably did about 200. Where is the sweat? Why aren't you? I see a little shine on your forehead. So let's talk to me about what you run, 3,000? What, 1,500? Talk to me about that race. What you like to run it? Talk to me about why you love to run that race.
I love long distance.
You love long distance. Why?
Because I got good stamina.
Yes.
And I love to run them.
And you love to run them. Let's go over here so we don't get the car in the. So you have good stamina. And when did you know you could run the 1,500?
When I first joined secondary school.
When you first joined secondary school, and you started running, you realized Wait, man, I could do this thing. Yes, and you've won any medals yet? Not as yet, but you're keeping going. Keep going. Very. That's the spirit. You're going to win one. Okay? Yeah. You're going to. Don't look away. Look straight at me. You believe it?
Yeah.
You got to believe it. And you have the right attitude. All right? Yeah. It starts right here. It starts in your belief in yourself. Right? Don't look away. You are going to win a medal. All right? Good. Very good. All right. Very good. Very good. Great job. Great job. This one here won a gold medal just the other day. You see she's smiling. So you like the hurdles? listen, listen, you did look mash up, man. Huh? You did look mash up. You good? You're good now. You're smiling now. You did 100 as well? Wow. So proud of you. Very good job. Very good job. So when you go home now, you just have dinner, you eat and sleep. Wow. Tire you out, and then tomorrow you're at it again? What? You all coming out again tomorrow? My word. You're not tired. Listen, Blum, I don't believe this. Listen, guys, you're all coming back here tomorrow? You're going to train again tomorrow?
Yeah, when tomorrow.
After all of this, you're going to train again? Oh my word. That's a lot of dedication. Lots of commitment. You didn't do a lot today. I noticed because you have on your slippers. Huh? No, he's not feeling well. I saw him earlier. Oh no. No. Yeah. You ready? You keep coming up. You were one of those that you were the first one coming through, man. Yeah. What motivates you?
You just go push yourself if you want to get better.
Yeah, and you want to get better. What is it? What's the time you want to run? I saw you keep looking down on your watch. What's the time you want to run?
I ain't really got no particular time. Just for each one to be faster and faster each time.
Okay, so right, so you saw what you did, and the next one you keep. Did you achieve that? Did you keep running faster and faster?
Yeah.
Okay, each time. Okay, all right. What's the fastest you run in the 400 meters?
60 seconds.
60 seconds.
59.
59. Oh wow. So you must have an aim, man. You gotta have an aim,
Well, I run a 400 for long right, so I would say I should be running about 55, 54.
Right. And but remind me, what's your event again?
Yeah, 100 and 1500.
Ah, okay. So this is the training for that.
Yeah.
You're going to do well. You believe it?
Yeah.
You have to believe it. Okay? You have to believe it, and you keep at it. Okay?
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. All righty.
Wow, wow, wow. That is a tremendous. Thank you so much, Marcia, for that. Tremendous. Listen, Marcia made a statement about young people. All young people are not lazy. You know, I'm looking at these young men, and this is the Blaze Athletic Club, and they're trying to raise the funds to cover their travel and to cover their accommodations and so on in Canada. And I want to encourage you to support these young people. Look, when young people are doing these type of things, rather than being critical, let's offer our support. Let's donate. And you know, again, here on the show, 236-7000, because remember, we want you to call in, so you can always call that number as well. And I believe Marcia will be only too happy to take any donations you want to give to this club for these young people. And I want to encourage you to do that. You know, my sister Frida was in athletics, and I see these young men that can rise to the level she rose to. She went all the way to the Olympics, you know, and I can see these young men going to that level as well. There's nothing to stop them. And, you know, as I looked at them, I'm thinking to myself, well, these guys are so slim. But, you know, I don't know how many of you all remember Kip something Kenya, who was the best. He was from Kenya, I think he was, and he was a record holder for the long distance races in the Olympics. Nobody could get close to this guy. He was as slim as a straw. And I mean, this guy was just unbelievably, his stamina was just phenomenal. And I really want to encourage you, please, let's support these young people. You know, already this evening we've heard of about 3 shootings already this evening. I'm not sure if if there are deaths involved, and I have no doubt they're going to be again with our young people. Here are young people trying to make something of their lives and trying to stay out of trouble and trying to do something wholesome, productive, and for their future. And I really want to encourage you to support this worthy cause. Please give them your support. Give Marcia a call, 236-7000, which is the same number you'll use here in a few minutes. And we want to encourage you to call in tonight, so that you can be a part of the show in just a few minutes. Now we have another one coming up very quickly. Just on Saturday, we had another march, and this was a march against the Vybz Kartel event on Easter Sunday. And we want to share a little bit of this with you so that you can see what actually happened. Yes, Kip Cog is his name. I've never been able to pronounce his name properly. Please forgive me for that. But, also quickly, when we got to the end of this march, we encountered some young men at Kensington working. When we come to the end of this video, I'll share with you what we saw at the Kensington Oval. So Dave, go ahead and share this other video here with the march against the Vybz Kartel show on Easter Sunday.
In Jesus' name, God save us. The happens in those days, the days that I remember. When we talk of respect and sharing with each other. But the reality is now what it is in charge. The ways of God seem rejected and forgotten. But I pray that we would arise and open up our eyes and against this evil God. Another day is not coming. Say a prayer for the nation. Yeah. Would you join with me? Why don't you say a prayer for the nation? Yeah. In Jesus' name, save us.
All right, yeah. Talk to the police. Let her be. Kathy dealing with it.
Pray for our children against abuse and perversion, against injustice that destroy our foundation. And I pray that we will arise and open up our eyes and against this evil one.
This march that you are witnessing this morning relates to the performance of Vybz Kartel on Easter Sunday at the Kensington Oval. Easter has been a day here in this country. Or as we would say, donkey years for the Christian community. We, the church, find it exceptionally disrespectful of any organizer and any governmental office that would authorize it for any performance on Easter Sunday, other than that which the Christian community would be able to appreciate. We are therefore marching today to send a strong message to both the organizers and the authorities who will grant permission for this concert on Easter Sunday to rethink that decision and hold back on it. Very often government understands no other language than a vote. And I must say to you this morning that this will come back to haunt you unless you make a decision to not allow this performance on Easter Sunday. We are appealing to you in the most decent fashion to hold back on that matter on this decision. Furthermore, there may be those who might be asking us, someone who is supposed to have given his life to the Lord. When I will say this to you, who may be asking that question, when a person gives their life to the Lord, it is a 180-degree turn of lifestyle. It means that
What are you saying? What happened? No, you're right. You're right. You're right, sir. Sir, can I
Yes. I will accept Mr. Kartel in the island on that day. If he chooses to review
No, but I agree with you.
that he has ever written or ever performed that has contributed negatively to the development or not even development, to the destruction of the mind of our young people. So I say to you today, sir, if you are serious about coming to this country and performing, and if you
He said that these are wicked because they forced to come to Muslim is a wicked woman. He's angry with the church, because the church, because they were bought during COVID.
Caribbean, Catholic, Pentecostal, Nazarene, Lesbian, Holiness, Independent, we expect you, sir, to revoke all that you have done. Speak out against all that you have contributed to the downfall in the minds of our young people. When you do that, sir, then we will accept and believe that you have been converted. That is what conversion, my friend, is about. A 180-degree change of direction, a comprehensive change of lifestyle, and a revoking of all that you have done prior to the time you gave your life to the Lord Jesus Christ. That is what we expect. So not Sunday, not Easter Sunday. We are being very clear on this matter. Organizers, contact the government, contact the organizers, and tell them this is not acceptable. So we said, look, over here tomorrow, declare. We speak of Guillermo Leo, we said, look, over here. No Vybz Kartel, look, over here. No Tommy Lee, look, over here. No Madness and Violence, look, over here. This morning, the Church of Jesus Christ, Lord, against gun.
That was the march that we held on Saturday. Now, and I believe we have every right. We have every right to hold that march because the Easter weekend is one of the most solemn in Christendom. And let's be real. This artiste has contributed significantly in terms of the thinking of our young people, thinking when it comes to violence, physical abuse, sexual involvement, you name it. Look at the lyrics, listen to the songs. And someone said to me that the one of the accompanying artists by the name of Tommy Lee, aka known as Satan or something else of that nature. I can't remember exactly what he was telling me with regards to the other name that he carries. This is exceptionally disrespectful to the church here in Barbados. And I must say this, and forgive me, but I am extremely annoyed and disappointed that I've heard nothing from the Bishop of the Anglican Church. I have heard nothing from the president of Barbados Christian Council or the Barbados Evangelical Association with regards to this. Now, several churches were there at the march, and I know that there are churches that are supporting the march who were not necessarily present there on Saturday evening, on Saturday morning. But I want to say, because, you know, some comments were made to us with regards to the church being responsible for what is happening governmentally in the country because of how we voted. And I want to say, look, you know, I had a caption somewhere, which if I can find it, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it to you because it is important for us to understand the importance of our, not just our voices being heard, but our presence being felt. And it's important for us to be able to express that. And that's why this is a democratic country. You know, I know, yeah, people have a right to do their performances and their shows, but show some respect. And listen to this. If Christians are not engaged with politics, decisions will be made by people who think God is irrelevant and the truth of God's word does not exist. I want to repeat that. If Christians are not engaged with politics, decisions will be made by people who think God is irrelevant and the truth of God's word, excuse me, does not exist. We are against this show on Sunday. And to be brutally frank, I'm personally against the show, period, unless I can hear something else presented to the minds of our young people. We do not understand how young minds are affected by music. I remember as a young person when the Beatles are who began the whole trend of calling police pigs, and it came through their music, and it reverberated for years, to the point where even today you still hear people calling police officers pigs. And the Beatles were the people who initiated that whole expression through their music. And we can look down through the years to see how powerful music is, how influential music is. And that's why we are, I'm saying it, if this gentleman has changed, then he needs to renounce all of his music. He needs to express to the young people that that was the wrong direction. He was not right in leading them in that direction. And he needs to say that in the show he's going to be involved in here, whenever it's going to be. I'm hoping and I'm praying as well, it's not on Easter Sunday. I'm hoping that the promoters, I'm hoping that the appropriate authorities will hear the objections of Barbadians, not just the church. Everywhere we turned, people were in objection to this. And I'm hoping and praying that the people who are responsible will act accordingly. And I understand there are several countries that have not permitted him access and entry. I understand Trinidad, somebody's saying it there, Trinidad said no to him. Imagine, of all the countries to say no, and no disrespect to Trinidad, because I don't want to act like the prime minister he is of Guyana, and call my sister country where I lived for several years anything. But if the Trinidadians, who are so liberal and so relaxed and entertaining, will not allow him entry, why are we allowing him entry in Barbados? But I'm just going to leave that there because our time is going by so quickly, and we have to move into the next segment that we have in the show. And I know that my next guest, very familiar here, and I can see him waiting in the wings. He is ready to go. You know, he's like that horse chomping at the bits, man. I tell you, he's ready to just light into things tonight. And I'm looking forward to sharing these next few moments with him. So, Victor, let me welcome you, my friend, to the Marcia Week Show tonight. It's a pleasure, as always, to have you on. I understand that you're going to be treating to something regarding something called the Road Traffic Regulations 2017. And I see a caption, is it sleeping? So I guess you will reveal to us what this is all about, and tell us if it's sleeping, and if it's sleeping, what we can do to wake it up.
Well, good night to the loyal opposition, and good night to you, Mr. Moderator.
Good night to you. Good night to you.
I have not been found sleeping, and a lot of people would have been very concerned when they saw this document on social media. If you can just lighten it up there, could you read that there for me, Doc?
If they bring it up big enough, my eyes, with my limited vision, I might just be able to see what it says. So it says here, this the minister in exercise of the powers conferred on him by Section 124 of the Road Traffic Act makes the following regulations. Short title. Number 1, these regulations may be cited as the Road Traffic Amendment Regulations.
Right, hold it there for a minute. Now, yes, we do accept that this regulation now is an amendment to the current regulations of 2017. It's a change. It's an addition. They're putting on something. Right? Continue.
Yes. Insertion of Regulations 14A. Number 2, the Road Traffic Regulations 1984, SI 1984, number 141. In these regulations, referred to as the principal regulations, are amended by inserting immediately after Regulation 14.
So there's a principal regulation. Hold on. So we are just making an insertion.
Yes,
after
sir.
Regulation 14, continue. So what is this insertion that we are making?
This is the insertion according to the caption that we have just read.
Mm-hmm.
Annual inspection of private motor vehicles that are 10 years old or older.
Mm-hmm.
Section
So we are saying
14A.
now that this is a new addition. This
Yes,
is something
according
new.
to the, yes, this is a
Mhm.
new insertion
A new insertion into the Road Traffic Act,
into the principal regulations.
right, of the
Yes, sir.
Road Traffic Act.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know for all the viewers on the show know very well that this is not technically new, because many times you go to the insurance company and the insurance company will say to you, you need to bring in an evaluation or you need to bring in a roadworthy certificate. You would
Yes.
ask why. They say your vehicle is 10 years or older, so you have to get a roadworthy certificate. So
Yes,
what do
this
you
is
do?
not you. This is not
What do
you.
you do? This is not new.
You go to the licensing authority and you go for an inspection.
Yeah, but you don't have to go to licensing authority.
Yeah,
Doc.
there were
There are many garages
yeah, there were
that
garages
have
that
been
did this.
designated for
Yes,
you to go for a roadworthy certificate.
that's correct. That's
So
correct.
why is this being mobilized now? That's the question, because it's nothing new to us. Many insurance companies you go to will say to you, you need a roadworthy certificate.
That's right.
Bring
That's
in
right.
your license. Let me see a copy of your license. Bring in an evaluation of your vehicle. And we
Yeah.
know of those three documents that are needed. But my
Yeah.
question is, why is it being amended now? Why is it being mobilized now? It isn't anything new. Is there a reason for it? Continue to read there, Doc.
Yes, on the payment of the prescribed fee, the
Mm-hmm.
licensing authority shall cause an annual inspection to be made of any motor vehicle that is 10
Mm-hmm.
years or older and that is licensed as a private motor vehicle, and where the
Mm-hmm.
motor vehicle is found on inspection not to be in a fit and proper
Oh,
condition.
hold it there, 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 hold it there. You see those two words? Fit
Fit and
and
proper.
proper? What does fit means? What does proper means? How
Is
do
it
you
defined
define the
in
whole
the act?
concept of fit and proper? Now, you know, I purchased a vehicle last year. My insurance company told me I have to get a roadworthy certificate. I said, but you know, I ain't got no money to pay for the road. He said, Mr. Lewis, don't worry, don't worry. You just bring the vehicle. Just tell us what day you'll be coming. Just bring the vehicle here and we can get a roadworthy certificate for you right on the spot. Just bring in the vehicle. I will get a roadworthy certificate for you. No problem. So, you know, I brought the vehicle on the day in question to the insurance company. So the insurance, the gentleman who did the inspection, he says, this your vehicle? Get in, start it. Turn on the indicator to the right, turn the indicator to the left, turn on your headlights, blow your horn. You walk around and look at the tires, say, pull up your handbrakes, try to go forward. All right, switch off. You're good to go. You're gone. And that was my roadworthy certificate. Done and gone. Many times I would go out to Bishop Court Hill with my other vehicle. You're aware of the garage in Bishop Court Hill. You
Yes,
know,
at
yeah,
Corbin's garage.
right,
Yes.
precisely.
Yeah,
And you
there were
go up
one of
there,
the garages.
you park your vehicle. The gentleman comes out. He look, you know, you have your form. He look there for the registration number. He walks around it, walks back inside, does his little write up, give you the certificate, and you're gone. Now tell me, we've been doing that for years, and you pay about $50 or $75 if the
Yes,
insurance company.
yes,
I
yes.
mean, I mean, um, I'm concerned as to why this regulation perceivably was sleeping, and why is it waking up now? Why is the government causing this to wake up at this particular point in time? Continue to read there from fit and
I
proper.
certainly will. Right,
Mm-hmm.
fit and proper. which I would expect in that is in a document, in a road traffic regulation, a
Mhm.
document from the government,
Now, I
that
want to know. Mhm.
that actually should be quantified in this document.
Right. What does fit means? What
Exactly.
does proper means?
Correct. Correct.
Those don't make no sense
Right.
because the gentleman looked at my vehicle, horn blowing, indicators working, your tires look good, handbrakes working, you're good to go. Roadworthy. That has been working for us for years.
So what do they mean now
Does
by
the
fit and
government
proper?
intend to change? No, no. Continue to read there.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So that a fit and proper condition for the purpose of transporting persons, the
Mm-hmm.
licensing authority, and may I back up
Mm-hmm.
and say,
Mm-hmm.
where the vehicle is found on inspection not to be in a fit and proper condition for the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of transporting persons, the licensing authority shall, by notice in
Mm-hmm.
writing, inform the owner of the motor vehicle of the defects found and give
Mm-hmm.
the owner 14 days to correct the defects.
Now, my concern here is what do you mean by fit and proper? Because if for all of these years, I'm 68 years old, and if I've been carrying in roadworthy certificates that talks about my indicators, my headlights, my tires, my handbrake, and all of those are good, and the gentleman said, Mr. Lewis, you can go ahead and transport yourself and transport other people in that vehicle because it's roadworthy.
Well,
So,
let me
yeah,
ask a question of you here, Victor.
yeah.
Uh, are they suggesting by this in amendment that the only people now that will be able to do that for you is the Barbados Licensing Authority?
Well, I've asked Dave just to pull up the road traffic regulations there, on page 5, right?
Hmm.
On page 5.3, if you can just pull that up, just scroll it, go to page 5,
Yes,
page 5, roll up to page 5.
yes,
Right there. The minister may
by
by order
order. Hmm.
designate a privately owned garage as an approved garage for the purpose of inspecting and examining motor vehicles in order to determine the roadworthiness of the vehicles to issue certificates in accordance with this act. So that's what the minister did. The minister designated privately owned garages in this country to inspect the vehicles and to issue roadworthy certificates. So they've
Yes,
been doing it long time ago.
yeah.
This is nothing new. So I want to know what is the intent of this amendment of regulation. Now, I have been scratching my head. Is this another tax? I know that a few years now, when the Bridgetown was far more active, you had traffic wardens that will go around and issue parking tickets in Bridgetown. But now that we have warrants with a hive of activity, Whole Town and Spicestown, blooming to some extent again, Oystons, you have 6 roads. So you don't have that kind of activity now in Bridgetown. So the traffic court now is technically starved of cash. And we
Good.
know that. Is it the intent of this regulation, the amendment of this regulation, to bring about more money via the Road Traffic Act? I don't know.
Is there a charge affixed to this examination that they are
Now,
seeking?
they haven't mentioned the fee. Now, tell me, because this concerns me a whole lot. You know, this concerns me a whole lot. You go to Garbin's garage, you may pay $50, $75. If you spend 10 minutes in there, you spend a long time. You're out and gone. They do not go under the vehicle to check your rod ends, to check the arm, to check the knuckle, to shake your wheel, you know, to look at your monks, the condition of your monks, to look at your muffler to see if the bracket on it broken or anything such like. They don't look at your paint job, you know, to a large extent, because Carbon's Garage will give you a grade on your paint job. They will tell you a grade, but that doesn't deem you unworthy to take your vehicle on the road. So yes, Carbon's Garage will report on the condition of your paint job, but that doesn't deem you unworthy. It only tells you about the state of your vehicle with respect to the paint job, nothing else. So for roadworthiness, I want to know now if Carbon's Garage, if the insurance companies will now be sending us to a bigger garage where we'll go up on a hoist and everybody will be checking, you know, your rod ends, checking your shocks, checking your monks, checking everything. Who are we feeding with respect to all this? They're going to be feeding the government. I have been hearing out there, you know, I don't know, something fall off the car, you know, and said to me that the vehicle examination fee is going to be $200 annually. I don't know. You like your job there, Rev?
You mean in addition to what we're paying at the pump already, which is way in
Well,
excess
yes, you are
of
being paid
any
road tax.
charges,
You're being paid road tax at the pump.
way in excess
Everybody
of
knows
any.
that. So you have two classes of vehicles. You have your commercial and you have your private
Right.
vehicles. We know that commercial vehicles you have to inspect. You got your taxis if you're there, you're selling bread, if you're doing a bit of sales and thing on the road, if you're selling food or anything such like, you have a vehicle that is classified as commercial. You go for inspection. I worked at the transport board for a while, and I know all the transport board buses are prepared for inspection. So commercial vehicles, we understand that they ought to go for inspection. It is clear because they're in business, and you go for inspection. So what this amendment is intended to do is to put all vehicles that are insured in the country must go for inspection, for vehicle inspection, as long as you are 10 years old or older.
I just want to
So,
remind our viewers that we are going to be entertaining your calls in just a few minutes. 2367000. Please remember that. We'd love to hear how you feel about this traffic regulation. Of course, anything else that you would like to raise, but as we are on this subject, um, we'd like to hear with regards to that. Judith, yes, I see you make the comment that it was not mentioned in the budget. That's
mhm,
interesting in itself. So
mhm,
remember, folks, 2367000. This is your time upcoming for the entire
mhm,
hour. We expect to hear from you. We're listening for your calls. So please, in just a few minutes, we'll be taking your calls with regards to what you feel with relating to this particular amendment to the Traffic Act. Go ahead.
mhm. Yeah. Now, my concern here, Doc, is what strata of society this amendment will be affecting. What strata of society? Now, we know that for sure that the middle class and upper class will change their vehicles after 3 or 4 years. And of course, if your sons and daughters of the upper class and middle class and they fall into their bracket, they're going to change their vehicle after 3 or 4 years, they sell it off. We have a retirement age of 67. And we know that
Or 68.
most individuals, 67 or 68,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know. I
60,
passed
you
that
know.
shit. I think 67 though. You know. So
Ah,
my concern is that you're retired, and when you go into retirement, most of us now came out of a mortgage. So after you spend 30, 35 years in a mortgage, are you going to be leaving that mortgage environment where you jump and say hallelujah? You're now 66 or 67 or in your 60s. Are you going to come out and go and buy a new car? No, you're not going to do that.
not on the pensions you get in.
No. So most of the people who will be affected by this amendment are going to be people like me or you who trying to make ends meet. How can we treat the elderly like that? No, I don't know. For those people who are retired, all the retirees, you just finished the mortgage. They will come out, they're going to buy a car 10, 12, 15 years old and hope to abide with it until the Lord said, come home, until they die. We know that. Those same people now that this government ought to be protecting are going to be subjecting them to vehicle inspection every year with a base pay, a base pay of I think $200. So I
That
don't
that's
know.
for
I don't
that's a
know.
lot of truck.
That fall off the truck. You
That's what.
know, yes, that fall off the truck. So I don't know if carbon is going to be existing anymore with $50 or $75. I don't know if some insurance company, just for the sake of being justified that they can insure your vehicle, they tell you come in, we will inspect your vehicle for you free of cost. That was done for me free of cost, and I felt good about it. And the gentleman says, go ahead. But I don't know now if an old man like me going to have to subject myself every year with $200 base. That's base. Because if you're going, and it's not like Carbon's garage now, where they tell you, flick the indicator to the left, flick the indicator to the right, turn on your headlights, blow your horn, pull your handbrakes up, you're good to go. Go ahead. No, you will have to go in to the pine where they want to put your vehicle on a hoist, shake the wheels, tell you that your rod arm ain't good. You got to change it. So who else going to be benefiting? The car dealers who selling parts. But now that Trump and China into tariff wars, then vehicle parts will go up and continue to go up. In this current warfare on tariffs, it means then that your base pay will no longer be $200. It's going to be a paint job. It's going to be rod ends. You have to change your tires. You have to change your mounts. You know how frustrating that is for
And
the people
extremely
that this
expensive.
government said they want to protect.
And it's
This
expensive.
legislation is not going to affect the rich. It's not going to affect the middle class. It's going to affect the poor people of this country who
As a
have
matter
to
of
look.
fact, yeah, sorry, Victor. As a
Yes,
matter of
go
fact,
ahead.
it's going to, I mean, if you look at the used car market, and when I say
Yeah.
used car market, I'm not talking about what we used to call the used car market. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about the used vehicles that are being imported. At least you can import, I understand, in excess of 4 years. So you're landing a vehicle on the island, which
Mm-hmm.
for me is a new vehicle, but it's already done 4 years of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Or so I keep it for 6 years before it becomes 10 years. Whereas before, when I bought my new vehicle, I could keep it for 10 years. So my new vehicle now, which to me is new, but it's used, it comes into the market. It's doing what, 18,000 kilometers. Some may be doing 32,000 kilometers. And I
Mm-hmm.
get it. In another 5 years, 6 years, it's going to be 10 years old.
Mhm.
And I now have, and of course, I'm going to have to spend the money. You're talking about the prices that are going up with regards to tariffs. But prices right now are high, even in some of these, the supplementary parts departments, not the main dealerships, in some of the other ones. When you
Mhm.
look at the price of tires, I mean, I'm looking at tires $600.
Mhm.
I checked on tires for my daughter's truck the other day, 400, 500 and something dollars a tire.
But you know that if as an older person, that you're only going out to the supermarket, you want to get to put in a little gas, you want to go into the bank to change a check or pay a bill, as the case may be. That's your only travel. You're not driving at night because the eye isn't the best, you know. So 1 or 2 times you're on the road. Could you imagine that individual, after going through a mortgage, must now come back and be subjected to, you must change those tires, you must change the rod ends, you must change the engine mount, you must change your shock absorbers, all those things the poor people of this country will have to be subjected to. That is what this amendment intends to do. Not only bring more money into the traffic court, but also put more money into the dealers of car parts in this country. And the only people that will be affected will be us, people like us. And that's
One
very
of
unfortunate. I want
one
to
of the
say
things.
something to you though.
Yeah,
You
go right
know,
ahead.
yeah, you know, I have my concerns, you know, and I now come down. I have my concerns about what we call standards. Because many garages, Carbon's garage and many other garages, will issue roadworthy certificates legitimately, and everything goes fine. Because as far as they're concerned, your vehicle is in good condition. You know, I left my insurance company after being issued with a certificate of roadworthiness. I now had to go to MTW in order to get weighed. You know, when I get there, this gentleman told me, we're not going to inspect that vehicle. You see that tint? Get it off. Get it off. You know, after leaving, my insurance company, now they're telling me I have to go and get off my tint. So, you know me, I ain't wasting the time. I went, park my vehicle, take my time, and take off the tint. I returned then to get my vehicle weighed and certificate issued. The gentleman said, you hear what I told you? We're not inspecting that vehicle until the tint is removed. I said, no, brother, I removed the tint. He said, that tint removed? I said, yes, the tint removed. Go and look at it. And the interesting thing is that when I sit in the vehicle, I can see outside. But from the individuals on the outside, they can't see in the inside. And that is how the vehicle was designed. That is the actual grade tint that was placed in the glass by the manufacturers, not me.
Yes,
And the
I
and
I
the
could hear.
gentleman, the gentleman then look an idiot. He couldn't understand that my vehicle, the actual glass, you know, I'm sitting on the inside looking out. I can see everybody, nice and. But if you on the outside looking in, the gentleman couldn't see me. And as far as he's concerned, my vehicle still had all the tint. I said, no, my brother, that's the glass. If you want me to change it, you go and speak to the manufacturers. That is the level of subjectivity that we get when you go to the crime. I want to issue with another one. There was this lady.
Before you go on
Yeah,
to that other one, let me touch on this one to do with the glasses that you just mentioned. There was a
yeah.
point in time when you would only find that type of glass on the high-end brand vehicles. But
Mhm.
of course, it has now made its way into virtually all vehicles, and I'll tell you why, Victor. because that dark glass is actually a glass to reduce the ultraviolet rays entering the vehicle that tend to heat up inside of the vehicle. And you will often hear people tell you, when you go to your car and it's hot in the day, don't open the door and get in and sit down because of the heat. The
Right.
plastics inside are releasing poisonous substances that you can breathe and that will affect you. So that glass is actually designed as a greenhouse type glass, which helps to cut down the ultraviolet radiation going into the car. And in several of the market vehicles now, a lot of the newer vehicles, they have what they call privacy glass. It comes from the manufacturer, and it has been designed that way because of privacy. Simple.
Yes, of
Simple.
course.
And there's nothing you can do about that except you expense yourself to buy glass from the manufacturer, which really is no longer produced in the particular area of the vehicle without the dark. They don't produce it.
They don't produce it, you know. So my concern is standards. Here I am taking my vehicle to the examiners who are to have standards
Correct.
at MTW, right? These individuals ought to be armed with standards. Now, Mr. Lewis, this vehicle is a Hilux Surf 2014. That's it, Hilux Surf 2014. I am aware that these glasses, they have in grade, 14 tint, so let me just open the door and look outside. Yes, that's fine. I'm happy with that. You've taken off the tint, but I know this vehicle, it hasn't tinted windows. The guy spoke nothing, like the guy was shocked. So this is the department that we ought to take our vehicles to, where individuals don't have standards. So then we will be in an environment of subjectivity, where a fella can decide if you will pass or if you will fail.
Victor,
let me bring this other one to you, man. This one's sweet. This one's sweet, man. Come on, man. This one's sweet. This lady purchased her vehicle, so she must go to MTW, and all MTW's primary function is to see that, based upon the documents you have, that your chassis number and engine number, that there is a reference. They are in sync with each other. This is good to go. Your chassis number correct, your engine number correct, you're good to go. Stamp. You clear. A lady went there. And when you paint your vehicle now and you put on your clear, you're clear after time, it flakes up.
Yep.
Now tell me, Rev, if the flakes come up on your vehicle and your paint job look bad, does that affect roadworthiness?
Well, I was just about to ask you.
No, man, come on, man. You went to high school, man. Come on, answer that question, man. I was gonna say you to the back of the class. Tell me, does that affect roadworthiness? You know that the lady at MTW, she had to go and get her vehicle painted.
That is rubbish.
Before, and all that department is required to do is to check that chassis number correct, engine number correct, there's no fraudulent activity, and stamp it and let the lady go. That lady now had to go and put herself through expense to paint her vehicle. Of course, spend more time. If you paint your bonnet, then it makes your roof look bad. And if you paint your roof, your other doors gonna look bad.
But that's 2 weeks.
Yes, and that is money you cannot afford.
It seems we have a caller, Victor. It seems we have a caller that wants to jump in on this. So let's hear what they have to say. Good night, caller. Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Yes. Good night, Mr. Ferdinand.
Good night to you.
Mr. Lewis said,
yes, sir.
The vehicle, he was wondering the price. The cost of the price now for the inspection at MCW is $125. Now, what I think license authority, Barbados Revenue Authority. I had spoken to this same thing some time ago. But what I think they need to do is to clean up the corruption that they has at the license authority. Then rather than doing that, because a lot of funds have went missing some time ago, some of their inspectors are under investigation. Who took people's money, and then when they turn up there, they can't have the documents. But apart from that, this new registration that we have is a concern to many vehicle owners, you know, because these the poor people of this country, the smaller man, is being made fleeced with taxes. We get up one morning and we want money. So we decide to tax people. As Mr. Lewis said, we have garages who was issuing the roadworthy certificate.
For years.
Make a date for license authorities to inspect your vehicle. First, you have to pay $100. They start to work at 8 o'clock. They take lunch at 11:30. When they go to lunch at 11:30, they come back at 2. How many vehicles they could inspect between 8 o'clock in the morning till 11:30 in the day? Then when they come back at 2, they're done at 3. Okay? So if you got a crowd of people who is there lined up, you add in more fuel to the fire. What is the license authority, as this amendment came up, they said they go back and quote him from 2017. Okay? What happened all of a sudden? The people at license authority need to wake up. I wish today I was trying to tell you apply for new disc on your car, registration on your car. We went on the internet and they send it on the internet. Then you have to apply it in order to get your disc. And that was no, we can't find it on the internet. You can't find it. You know, license authority is making a mess of the people in this place. We have the ER. They say to us the ER is for 10 years. When you go and get the ER, is that working? They spend a lot of money and put up these things across the road where every time you pass through, you monitor your vehicle. What has happened? It ain't working. You have oil tanks, you have resters, and so on. So what they're doing, and then when you go to these places that they've got people running about like giddy head chickens, you know, because sometimes you go, then they say go to the fine. When you go to the fine, you go back to the station that you went to. And the computer is not compatible because they're not giving one another the information.
Yes.
You know, look at a monitor to tell me when I buy my petrol, whether it be gasoline or diesel, I pay my road tax. I'm paying 3 times as much.
That's right.
3 times as much.
3 times as much, precisely.
3 times. Probably more than that.
Your vehicle is not properly registered. What do you mean it isn't registered? Okay? They don't up there. There's a bunch of dirty head chickens. They don't know what they're doing. They need cleaning. They need to clean them out. You know? They need to clean them out. We are the people, even when you buy a second-hand car, you have to pay $25 to get it there. When you go to the fine, then you pay $25. Then you turn around, you got to give the government $400. Ask them to explain to you what you're paying the $400 for. You know? Mr. Lewis tell you the private vehicles, the commercial vehicles. You buy a commercial vehicle, you have the commercial vehicle, you still have to pay. But I will give you an instance, the 4x4, 4056, the Mitsubishi. Okay? When we were paying $300 and $400 and somebody dollars, now you have to turn around then as a commercial vehicle, you have to give them $100 and somebody dollars. When you buy a truck, you have to give them $1,000. A guy was on the stock some time ago. He bought a truck through some finance. He paid $1,000. And now the truck, he is done paid to the truck. They asked him to pay another $1,000. You think this could be fair to poor people?
No.
You know? It's about time the vehicles who want to come and park all these vehicles at license authority. And let's protest. We are people, peaceful people. But we are being right.
Yeah. I know what will happen. I know what will happen in
the same money when you could give the Exxon Bank that land. What you could have done is have them build something, put some money into some center to help teach our youth something. A place like St. John, the Baptist school where they're shut down for the longest time after the police leave it. You talk about the Samuel Jackson Polytechnic. If you really want to do something, extend the Samuel Jackson Prescott to other places, have some retired people, put some stuff in it, and have
And do
teaching
some
you
training.
something to get
Do
them
some
out of
training.
fun.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
we want to thank you. We want to thank you so very much for the call, and we know a lot of what you're saying. We can relate to. I know Victor can. I certainly can. I'm sure that from the comments that people are making, they can relate to it. So we really appreciate you calling and sharing this with us. I can tell that you're quite
Not
frustrated with
possible,
it.
because you saw vehicles. You was
Oh
around
yes.
vehicles when you was going to school. I know you're the boy coming in a certain garage looking at
Yep.
cars. You ought to have
Fort
an
Royal.
interest, and you think what they're doing to us is fair?
No, sir.
It's not
From
fair.
Withanol
Huh?
to Fort Royal to
Pardon me?
Detco Motors, all the way back to
Fort Royal too.
the S&T
You,
Motors.
you,
Oh
you
yes,
you need
sir.
to be at Fort Royal more
Oh
regular
yes.
than you. But when you come from
Yeah.
college,
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Well,
huh?
listen. Thanks a lot. And you carried me back a lot of years. So I have to ask you to run off because you're making me feel old. Thanks a
I
lot.
will
No,
have a
really.
big laugh
Thank
when
you.
I see you again.
Please, I would
Well,
love.
this
I would love
is
to have
all
a
fair
chat
to
with
us.
you on this.
Yes, I want to score people there. Expect us to do. As
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Lewis said,
Absolutely.
retired people, the dog and the cat audience could buy them. Well, the car, when the car was $3,000, the average man can buy either one of them or mine. You know, this is
Yes,
gross
sir.
unfair. We need to stand up and tell the
Yes.
people at license authority or tell the prime minister they can
Enough.
afford it.
Enough.
They are not mighty people like that. When their children grow up, you could give them a car, buy a car and give them. The poor man
Yes.
has to work, and if he buy a car and you decide to retire to his children to purchase another car, you are
Yes.
telling us what? Go up at license authority to do what? Stamp a whole morning and wait in the line? This is ridiculous. You know, and
Thank
we are
you.
so much
Thank you.
massive people. We need to stand up for our rights. It's about time we tell these people
Absolutely.
enough is enough. They are
Yes.
our
Yes.
servants,
Thank you.
not our masters all the time. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you too. Appreciate it. Look forward to it sometime when I'm in out there in the march or on the parliament. Make sure you come up and give me a shout, huh? Because you carry me back. You carry me back some years back to the days of with and all. Some of y'all don't even know what you're talking about.
Mr.
So, but
Ferdinand,
yeah, go
Mr.
ahead. Go
Ferdinand,
ahead. Thank you, sir.
you
We
know,
appreciate your call. Thank you. Is this another call, Marcia? A different one? Is this another call? Do we have a caller on the line? Okay, no. All right, go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead, Victor.
Now, my concern is based upon the comments made by the gentleman, that he quoted so many figures. Now, I said 200, he said 125, and I know that is less than $100 that you pay when you go to Corbin's garage or any other garage. Mine was done free. I don't know because I am retired that they said, Mr. Lewis, you're a retiree. And how are we going to treat the retirees of this country? Are we going to subject them to this environment where people now got to look for an additional $125 or $200 plus buy car parts, plus be frustrated by going up in the pine and sitting down? I don't know, but I want to go Corbin's garage because Corbin's garage has been doing it for me for years. And I know that every time they decide to hit that stamp, they've done it based upon a quality inspection
Well,
in
because they've
areas
been
that
doing it for
justify,
years.
yes,
Because
in
they've been doing it
areas
for
that
years. Yeah.
justify roadworthiness.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Mr. Ferdinand, we can look for a very significant increase in crime, increase in crime.
I
People
pray
can
not.
be doing.
I pray not.
Yes, it will happen. It will happen because when people can't afford, when they can't afford it, they can have their vehicles on the road uninsured because they can't get the roadworthy certificates. They don't have the money to pay for the inspection. And then they said, if you fail within 14 days, you have to come back for reinspection. Now, suppose I don't have that money within 14 days. Within 14 days, I don't have the money to go and buy the shocks, to go and buy new tires. What do I do? What do I do, Ferdinand? I will take a risk. I will go on the road with my vehicle that is uninsured. I've been insuring it for all the years. when I am asked for a road ready certificate, and I can easily go spend a 5 or 10 minutes at Carbon's garage, and I'm gone. They might tell you I change the
And
bar.
the
Yes,
reason I'm saying this to you is because, you know, when you develop a relationship with a dealership, they know your vehicle. You know,
precisely.
it's not like you're a stranger coming to them for the first time ever, or you're a part of, you know, thousands of vehicles that are coming in. They have developed a relationship with you. They know your vehicle. They know
Mhm.
the age of your vehicle. They know when they have changed this, when they have changed that. They know the amount of time it will take in terms of the longevity of how long the tires will last, your disc brakes will last, your rubbers will last, and so forth. Because we don't have the well, I was about to say we don't have the kind of intense driving that they have overseas, but we sure do have oil wells to navigate.
Mhm.
But we have another caller here, Victor. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the Marcy Week Show. Pleasure to have you. Go right ahead, please, and make your contribution.
Yes, first of all, good night to the panel. What
And
I
good
want
night to
to say
you.
is that they just need, what I want to say is that they just need to understand that this whole um, pace that is being quickened with deaths on the island is not happenstance. And I think that the Attorney General focusing on Tint and all other things, it just shows that he is clearly out of his depth. Uh,
Well, but,
I,
well, you know, Mr. Waldron said in the audio that went wrong that that was not the only thing the Attorney General was focusing on, but I wondered why it was included anyhow. So go ahead.
right. So, can you confirm? Because I was not abreast with the show. I just heard. Is it true that that we have two deaths, more or less, in one day? Two shooting deaths. Is it confirmed as so?
I understand it has been confirmed. I'm just checking back on my information that has come to me, but my understanding, just hold a minute and I will check it for you. But I understand that it has happened. Okay, we've had a shooting this afternoon and 4:20, and another two other shootings this afternoon. They could not tell me the location, but two males have been taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
Well, my sources would have said. I presume that one is past, and the other probably is in a critical condition. But
Okay.
the reason I'm calling is this. I think that what has to happen is that you don't have to be a big Christian or any big Muslim or any big Rastafarian or any big whatever you want to call it to understand that any entity that proliferates violence and gangsterism in their lyrics for years. I don't care how much wealth the person has. I don't care how high in terms of mystic allure the person has. That has nothing to do with the atmosphere and stratospheric realms of Barbados. I think that if people start to pray a certain way, hear the words a certain way, that certain elements will I don't know, will have to either dissipate or they will find themselves the old people say Harbour Alley. There's a place called Harbour Alley.
I would have to ask Victor about that because he's older than me.
Wait for the again, man.
Victor, you know what he's talking about? Victor, you know what he's talking about? Because I don't know that one.
I keep quiet for now.
No, Harbour Alley was, I think, Harbour Alley is where my mother is resting herself. St. James Cemetery, that's what the old folks used to call Harbour Alley. Right. So what I'm trying to say is that it does not take a person to be so highly religious to understand. Look, I wish we had time. Go and look at his lyrics for years, not just yesterday or yesteryear. And nobody is trying to bash a person whether you came out of jail on a technicality or anything. That has nothing to do with it. The Jamaica Constabulary, or I think they call themselves the Constabulary, has the intelligence gathering for years of what I would call gangsterism and stuff. So it is upon that premise that a person coming into Barbados with such a high priest, I call it high priest, high mystic allure, cannot and should not be allowed by a government Socratically to be supporting that kind of aura. You know, to almost compete with the crime rate that is in Jamaica. That's all I'm trying to say. What will it take? Will it take 3 deaths a day, 4 deaths a day, 5 for them to understand that you cannot continue with that? You can't encourage that more or less that kind of lyricism.
Well, if you take a look at online with regards to Tommy Lee Sparta, I'm reading it right here in front of me. He has been a controversial figure in the dance hall due to his self-described gothic dance hall style, which often features dark and satanic inspired subject matter. I mean, that's Wikipedia, and when Wikipedia puts this stuff down, I mean, you know, it's not coming from a subjective religious point of view.
Right. Correct. No, but you see, Bajans try to make people feel that the spiritual ability in Haiti and in Africa is different to Barbados. But no. As you go do your research, one of my theses, we did a lot of the history of highly spiritual activity that was very evident in Barbados, even from way back. Persons, traveling from Barbados to North America and stuff. So where I'm going with this is that Britons pretend that they don't understand the difference between the incantation of spiritual activity within music and music alone. Everybody should know that a song is not just a song altogether, but that's another thing for another time.
And not only lyrics, my friend. Also, rhythms and beats are very critically important in the whole production of the song. And a lot of people don't realize the spiritual componentry of the rhythm and the beats. You're absolutely correct in that.
Well, my last comment is that whether you want to or don't understand the mysticism of certain things, outright you go and dissect the lyricism of Kartel's music and see if you would play that in a primary school or elementary school, and then ask the Prime Minister if she is more interested in wealth attracting youth vote, or she wants the crime and the organized crime of the country to come down. That's the Prime Minister and the Martin.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you Thank you so very much. Tremendous points. Victor, again, I mean, before I even go over to that aspect he's chatting about, I just want to pop back to the cars. You know, when I first was dealing with BMW here, I would never forget taking some of our vehicles to the Ministry of Transport and Works to be inspected, you know, for the taxis and the high HL limousine services. And they were talking about, the BMWs came with driving lights to the front that were used for fog in Europe. They're built into the cars. Mm-hmm. You cannot, I mean, you can remove them, but they are part of the whole computerized mechanism of the lighting system of the car. And you know what we had to do? They wanted us to take them out. And I said, absolutely not. We're not taking out these lights because the manufacturer has designed the vehicle with them in there, and they're streamlined into the computer system of the vehicle. Even today, if you change some of the headlights on these cars, you actually have to go into the computer system and program the headlight. Mm-hmm. So it's not a case where you could take them out. We actually had to stick cardboard over them. That was the element of stupidity that we were dealing with back then, because they did not understand driving lights were not fog lights. They could not even understand that.
Mm-hmm. You know,
and as a matter of fact, in the Road Traffic Act addressed lights that were added to the vehicle, not lights the vehicle came with, lights that were put on as auxiliary lights added to the vehicle. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. So my vehicle has fog lights, and I prefer those fog lights because those fog lights, the beam goes to the ground,
to the floor,
and it gives me it goes deep to the road, and it gives me a better vision when I'm driving at night. I love that.
but you call them fog lights. But in the automotive industry, those are
Yeah,
what are referred to as driving lights. The
driving lights.
fog, yeah,
Beautiful.
the fog
Yeah.
lights are the ones that you would have installed to the front of your car. You see the guys in the rallies with them and
Yes,
whatnot. They put on
precisely.
these big lights because they're moving at one heck of a
Hmm.
speed in the night.
Hmm.
And if the rain starts to fall, you want to have a clarity of where you are going. Otherwise, you're going to have
Hmm.
a serious accident, because you know
Hmm.
how those guys will move. So that is what you're really dealing with.
I want to make some reference based upon the comments by the last caller,
Hmm.
and you know, Mr. Ferdinand, when you start wrong, you will end wrong. You know that,
Hmm.
you know, you ain't got to be rocket science to
Except
figure
for
that out,
Jesus, he's the only
right?
person that brings you to
Yeah,
end right.
but I glad you've gone biblically because the Lord made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. You know,
Oh, there.
yes, we know that, we know that. But when you
Two,
start wrong,
two.
you will end wrong. So when you have leadership that doesn't understand the importance of mommy, daddy, son, and daughter, and family, and that constitutes family. When you
Mhm.
deviate from that as a leader, and you can't embrace this as a guiding principle that God has given us, you know. But I
Well,
see my name there
yeah,
turn up.
yeah,
Yeah,
we have an article here really that I've been asked to read because this has to do
yeah. Go
with
ahead.
rituals that were performed to release him from prison. And I don't know if you can make that a little bigger for me. Uh, Controversial, thank you. And of course, just follow it, Dave, as I read, and you can bring it up, and I'll just keep going on. I'll just keep going. Controversial entertainer and self-professed spiritualist Horace L.A. Lewis has taken his quote unquote crusade in defense of DJ Vybz Kartel to a new level with an Obia ritual aimed at rooting out what he called injustice at the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Wow. Lewis, in a YouTube video, directed much of his ire towards the DPP Paula Llewellyn, who he claimed was targeting him for his outspoken criticism of her handling of the case, which convicted Cartel of murder 10 years ago. In the clip, Lewis is joined by two other men who aid him holding a children's doll in a transparent plastic bag alongside a photograph of Llewellyn as he articulates, wasting no time before commencing the ritual. Lewis pours white rum on the object, accompanied by what seems to be a skull covered by a yellow knitted hat. Lewis is then observed spitting white rum as he bashed Llewellyn for keeping up shaggery or foolishness. The ritual is just the latest in a series of public taunts to the senior prosecutor over the past week, who Lewis claims is complicit in a cover up to ruin Vybz Kartel. A self proclaimed Maroon Emperor, Lewis further asserted that cowardly Jamaican leaders are all who stand between Llewellyn and her resignation after the landmark Privy Council ruling that quashed Cartel's conviction and that of his co accused. He goes on to say, what is this? We give our 24-hour. We no cover it up as yet. If she no free Cartel, we cover it, he argued. Never ramp with the Maroon Empire, the older of the two accomplices contended. Well, clearly we can see, and I guess this is a part of the actual rituals there, but we can clearly see the aspect from our perspective, the demonology that is involved in this matter. And I don't mind if I offend people because I've learned that you can't please all the people all of the time. You can only please some of the people some of the time. And I'm going to be very brutally frank with you. This is a lot of demonic activity. It's an area that we are very well aware of, and we are mindful of the fact that much of what is happening in our country today is happening as a result of the demonic activity that is occurring in our nation. We are mindful of this. And that is why the church needs to get up off of its backside and get serious about addressing these matters, not just in the realm of the spirit, but as the Apostle James says, he says, faith without works is dead. You say you got faith, well, let me see your faith by your works. So if you got faith, let me see you march to or protest to the Ministry of Transport and Works, join the marches that we are having, because this is where we contend in reality. Sorry to have taken so much of your time, Victor.
You know, it takes me right back to 1960s. I was born in 1957. You know, I went to St. Margaret School, and I know at that school, that St. Margaret School was a part of the St. Margaret's Church, the Anglican Church. And I would have been informed that teachers at the school, in order to teach, you had to be married. The school had standards, whether they're questionable or not, but the school had standards. So in order for you to teach at this school, you must be married. As long as you're an adult and you're coming to teach, you ought to be married. So you introduce your husband and your wife and your children to the school. That's a standard.
Well, there can be no question.
Do we have standards today? Do we have these standards today, Mr. Ferdinand?
That's what I was about to say. There's
Do we
no
have
question
them?
about the fact that we have.
So when we going down this road with Vybz Kartel and all the kind of nastiness that these people want to do, when we look at the leadership of this country, can we see mommy, daddy, and children? Can we see husband and wife? Can we see Adam and Eve? Or are we now promoting Adam and Steve?
Well, we
and
do
Jane
know.
And Elaine.
Well, we do know that there are some elements that they want to change. They may not like us to expose it, but there are some elements that they would like to change with regards to many of those. We have a caller on the line now. Good evening, caller, and welcome to the Marcy Week Show. A pleasure to have you with us. Please go right ahead and share your contribution to the show tonight.
Yes, my contribution is that I would like to ask the ex-officer and you a question about this Vybz Kartel show. Is it possible that you all can get a petition kicking against the show and get some people to sign it as much signature as they can and bypass Mayor Morley and take it straight to the president?
I don't know. I don't know in terms of taking it straight to the president, but there is a petition. I don't know if Dave, if you all have that link to the petition, but there is a petition, sir, that is being circulated in opposition to the show on the Easter Sunday. I'm going to see if Dave has it here that he can put it in the link for you. It will come up in YouTube and you can copy it and you can share it. But yes, sir, there is a petition. In terms of whether it can be taken directly to the president and what capability the president would have to rule on the matter, that aspect I really do not know. I would have to speak to a legal mind with regards to that. But there is a petition, sir, that is circulating.
Okay, well, Sunday a fast approach and get something done before then.
Yes, it is out there, Dave. I like I said, I think they might have it. I'm checking my messages to see if I can put my hand on it. And if I do, I will certainly add it. I know if Dave does, he will also put it in the chat. But thank you so very much, sir. It is, I appreciate your suggestion, but it is a fact that we do have a petition, or there is a petition, I should say, no, not ours, but there is a petition that is being circulated with regards to the concert.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So thank you. You're most welcome, sir. Thank you so very much. Yes, Victor, you were saying.
You know, there was a comment there by, I think, a gentleman not too long ago that they brought up on the screen relative to this whole benefits of tint for the older drivers. You know, I'm saying older here, but you know, when you're retired and you know you are up in age, as the case may be, you're not going to be going out there purchasing a new car after you know came over of a mortgage. you're going to purchase a car that will take you from point A to B, you know, so you can handle your chores a little better. You drive to the beach, you know, you drive to the supermarket, and maybe you drive to church, and there's a whole lot of activity, you know.
Mhm.
And you know that in situations like that, tint is very helpful. Tint is excellent for me. I love it because it cuts down the glare based upon the quality of eyesight that you have at a particular age. And one can accept that. You go older, you know, your organs will fail at some point in time, right? So this whole idea of a tint, I would like to think that this regulation is intended to be mobilized or has been mobilized in order to fatten the pockets of the traffic court. If a mandatory goes through the vehicle, MTW as the case may be, or BRA, if a mandatory goes through them and there's no longer Carbon's garage or the other garages no longer exist, you know, they're no longer authorized to do that, and you have to go there and pay that $125. I'm telling you, Dr. Ferdinand, that there will be a significant increase in crime. And crime in this sense means
Yes,
that
you're going.
vehicles on the
Yes,
road uninsured,
and
because
and we
the
have that as an issue. We have that as an issue already.
precisely,
We have that as an issue already
precisely,
because as a
precisely.
matter of fact, I had a gentleman that was coming to look at a vehicle that I have here, that I'm selling, and on his way to me, somebody ran into the back of his vehicle, and the vehicle was uninsured and unregistered. It had on registration plates, but
Yes.
when I say unregistered, you know, it's now you now get your sticker, that little sticker through your insurance company. Now you don't go to the licensing authority like we used to.
Mm,
It was not insured. As a result of that, it was not registered for the time period that it was allocated.
mhm,
Um, and this is seemingly happening quite a lot. And it's because you see, the thing is, Victor, we are dealing with an expense level in this country that is making it nigh impossible for, I am going to say, for the middle lower, you know, below the middle income persons to survive. Because
yes.
when you look at food costs, fuel costs, costs for uniforms and aspects for to send their children to school, when you look at those rising prices, which we've already now been warned about, as a
Mhm,
result of this tariff war, we have now been
mhm.
told that you can watch for prices going up. I see
Everything
prices
going
going
up.
up already, and it has not actually kicked in around the
Mhm,
world.
mhm,
And then you are asking people to spend this money, and then you want, as a government, you want the people to address the health aspects of the food they feed their children, the food they eat. And you and I know that some of the most expensive food is what is produced locally, because our farmers are not subsidized by the government as overseas farmers, many countries, overseas farmers are, which is why carrots coming in are cheaper than carrots produced here in Barbados. We
mhm.
would love to eat our local carrots. They're better for us. They're better. Our beets are better. Our cabbages and our cucumbers are better. But the reality is, what is coming in from overseas is cheaper because the governments are subsidizing those farmers. It doesn't happen here, and so people in Barbados can provide healthy alternatives for their family to treat into the matter of health as it relates to what the government is
Mhm, mhm.
trying to suggest. I don't know if you have a thought on that.
You know, but of course, you know, there's a whole lot of challenges out there now for people because this current government don't seem to understand that people in this country, that they're suffering. You know, there came a time where potatoes, you know, I love to eat from the ground. You know, I had to go and buy potatoes at $40 a rod. I can remember when I bought potatoes at $5 and $10 a rod. I remember when I used to go into the potato ground and do sprouting. I came home with a bag of potatoes from sprouting in the ground. You know, I felt good about that. You know, when my father digging potatoes to sell, I going through the other area of the ground that have been dug before and doing my little sprouting. and that would help, supplement the pot, as the case may be. But we have individuals now who are under significant financial pressure in this country, and
Yes, they are.
they're bringing now a new tax. That amendment to the regulation is a new tax for the government, and the intent here is that they have to give some consideration to the other garages that have been designated and approved to be vehicle examiners to issue certificates. And I want to look at the relationship to what exists now, the checklist that Corbin's garage use, indicators, handbrake, tires, as the case may be, and what will transpire at MTW,
Just
where there are
remember,
no standards.
just remember, loyal opposition, to make your calls 2367000 to voice your concerns and make your contribution to the show tonight. The other thing, Victor, that was running through my mind is that money that is being collected by the garages. Does that go back to the government, or is that for the garages due to the labor costs and so on that is involved where there are, where they're doing the work?
Now, I respect the fact that one needs to know the condition of their vehicle, whether it's roadworthy or not.
Yes, yes.
But you see that regulation says fit and proper. Fit and proper. So under fit and proper, it is good indicators, good lights, good brakes, good tires. Tires might be at 50% or 75%. You're good to go, another year or so, you change the tires, as the case me. That has been conveyed to us as fit and proper. That is it. So what will the MTW now be doing? Put you up on a hoist, shake your wheel, tell you you're gonna change your shock, tell you you're gonna change your monks, tell you you're gonna change your tires. I was in the US, and when I with my private vehicle, and all I had to do with my private vehicle is an emissions test. Emissions. You go online, you make, your appointment online for emissions test. They will tell you what time to come, what date to come, and what time to come. You turn up there, get your emission test, and that's it, and you're gone. You go on there and put that information on online for you, your emissions test done. And it's not annually, but you have to do an emissions test. But here in Barbados, this amendment to the regulations is intended to fatten the traffic court, increase the amount of funds coming in. It is also intended to take the money out of the hands of the poor people of this country, because this amendment does not impact upon the middle class and upper class who will change their vehicles after 3 or 4 years. It don't affect them. It affects us. It affects the majority of Bajans. And I want to know, have there been anything put in place for the retirees? After you retired, you don't want to be going home now and have to be in enough frustration, so you got to go and make an appointment with MTW.
Well, Victor, one of the things that I mentioned not long ago is, and I really want to express this, and I hope the leader of the opposition and maybe the government will also give it consideration. I believe that after a person has retired, they should not be paying land tax anymore in the country.
No.
Because they have paid their dues.
Precisely.
They have paid their taxes for years. Of course, they have made their contribution to the national insurance that they can get their pension and so on. But I believe, having done all that they have done down through the years to contribute to the economy of the country, the least that can be done is that they be exempted from land tax for the rest of their lives. They have paid their dues. And again, I can understand, because under the Road Traffic Act, I can understand the aspect of you having to revisit at particular ages and so on, because of course we know as we get older, there are aspects of your life that decline, your sharpness, your eyesight. We understand that, and you can easily, slip in at the polyclinic or something and get some checks,
a medical certificate. Right, precisely. That is understood.
And we understand that. But I can understand what you're getting at, because one of the things that I am weary of, and maybe I shouldn't say this, is the subjectivity of officers in the public service who determine for themselves what matters are. So when we talk about fit and proper, I want to know, has the government um, uh, defined, whether in the act or in an appendix or something of the sort, what is defined by fit, da 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 da, what is defined by proper, da 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 da,
But
so that it's no longer
Mr. Nick,
left up to. We got caller.
Miss,
We have a caller coming in here, so you hold your
yeah,
last your
all right.
comment. Go right ahead, caller. Good evening and welcome to the Marcy Week Show. It's a pleasure to have you joining us. Please make your contribution.
I want to explain something to you. Matter of fact, my experience. There's something that I had my vehicle on the road, I'm paying insurance, everything. And I saw a car with a number on about 2 or 3 times, 3 occasions. I went to the police station to inform them about this vehicle. They went into the system to see who, and they're saying the persons have a new vehicle. My vehicle, my numbers I had for years. And they're saying that that person is the rightful owner of the number. I said, how could it be? Now, I go to my insurance, they do the inspection and everything. And they tell me, well, the police tell me, well, I have to check with my insurance. I go on to my insurance. I ask them if they send the information to MTW. They say yes. All right. I go on to MTW, inquire about the numbers and things, and they're telling me that because my car been the inspection more or less, that I didn't come and get the inspection, which we would get that small disc that to put on the front. I said, well, how come my insurance, if there were a problem like that, would they liaison with my insurance and tell me, well, whatever, or my insurance saying they are sending down the information to NPW. But then I have to went all back to the whole system to pay money that I don't have in order to get a fresh number. How fair that could be? Huh? How fair it could be?
Not being personal, sir, but if you're still there online,
You're still there, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Victor.
Are you retired? How old are you? If you respond with another one, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm 65.
65, right? And you see, Mr. Nichols, what I'm saying. You see what he's being subjected to at 65 years old. Asking now him to go and find money that he don't have. Maybe he purchased a new car when he was younger. You know, maybe he went through a mortgage when he was younger. At this stage now, this is what he's being subjected to by this government. Can we want it worse than this? And it is not the middle class and the upper class. They will sell off their vehicles after 3 or 4 years. It is us. After taxation at the pub, they're coming to tax us again.
Yeah, but even if that was something that I had to do, I should have been notified.
Yes, you should have been notified.
But my insurance used to do all of that.
But you see, this is the problem that we
have. Tell me, well, yes, you got to take the thing to MTW and get the inspection or whatever you got to do. And I would understand that. But don't just take away my numbers and give them away. Numbers that I had every time. You know? And then here is now that I got to go now and look for this money now. To go back all to the system. Buy fresh numbers and all sorts of things in order to get back my car on the road.
And you probably will have to pay for a new registration, because that would be a new number that would be issued. So you would have to pay for a new registration. Then you'll have to pay for a new set of number plates, which would include installation and all of that. But I would believe, sir, that your insurance company, because if you are insured, I believe your insurance company, and this is one of the challenges, Victor, we have in Barbados, service. SERVICE, service. We have a lot of long talk in this country, with regards to these matters. We talk about them, but the service in this country at every level is the pits.
But I want to remain specific here, for
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to remain specific because this amendment has been asleep because of the timing that this government looks for another financial tool in order to bring in money. And this same financial tool, based upon the sentiments echoed by the caller just now, this same financial tool is impacting upon him. He says, well, hey, I should have been informed. I respect that. But at the same time, his family now must go and put that extra money into their family budget.
Yeah.
After going through mortgage, after going through all kind of things, they must now come and put another $200, $300 into their family budget in order to survive. This must not be happening to the poor people in this country.
Yeah, Carter, you wanted to make a comment on this.
I don't think that system in the whole won't change. I had another experience. Well, this is not about the car now. This is about the whole where you have the car and I have a plastic bag for over your shift because I don't want to eat anything and throw it through the window. So I just put it in this bag. So I had all my ID card, bank card, everything inside of the plastic thing that the bank normally gives you. I had it in there and it slid down and went into the bag. I take the bag and throw it away, not knowing that that's what happened. Now, in order for I to get back these things, I have to got a birth certificate. In order for I to get a birth certificate, I have to got an ID card. Now, how possible that would be? To have a bank, to get all of these documents, but I went to the bank and stopped the, notify them about the card loss and stuff, so they don't have to do what they have to do. But the point that I'm making, in order for I to get back these things, I have to have an ID card. In order to have an ID card, I got to get a birth certificate. Right? So I went in to get a birth certificate, and they tell me I have to get an ID card. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. So what happened is a guy was there, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind, signing off, after I fill out the form and thing. He gave me no problem, he would sign it. And then that is how I start to get back my stuff, my card, my credit card, my insurance, my driver's license. I start getting back these things then. But the system won't change it. It definitely won't change it.
Well, I don't think there are too many people that will disagree with you, caller. I can tell you that. Not just as it relates to vehicles, there are a lot of systems that need to be changed, and that's one of the reasons I keep talking about matters of governance. But we want to thank you for your call, sir. We appreciate you even sharing your personal experience, because I'm sure that there may be others listening to the show both tonight and in the future on YouTube that will be able to share your sentiments and may very well receive some help because of what you've gone through. They may be able to save themselves from going through that because they'll now go and check behind their insurance company. So we thank you for taking the time to share that with us. You're very welcome, sir. Yeah, Victor, again, the whole matter of the standards you're talking about. We've always had standards in every area. We hear things about schools coming up now in terms of deportment. When I was going to school, and I know people look at me and tell me that was 40, 50 years ago. We used to have to make sure our socks were up, our shoes were clean, our epaulets were on. If a teacher knew me and saw me outside of Harrison College without my epaulets on, I would be in detention the very next day for that, because that was the standard. We had the standards in terms of our hair, where we can wear our afros, but it had to be trimmed and we had to make sure that it came down to the point on occasions where we even had to pay attention to how we kept our books. There were standards that we had to maintain. And I will say this, that a lot of people don't realize how that has factored into what they are today. A lot of people have not realized that was actually a training process for where you are today. We didn't know then that we were going through it. I was talking with somebody the other day about pitching marbles, and I said to the person, but we didn't know that at that time we were learning strategy, because you used to have to pick a marble off of one and hit the next, and then it go over and hit another one. We didn't
Mhm.
know that we were actually strategizing. We did
Mhm.
not know that we were actually dealing in business as we were pitching marbles. We never saw it that way. We just
Mhm.
saw it as a sport.
And the physics,
Yeah,
the
you
angle
know, and
impact.
yeah, the
Mhm.
angles and all that kind of thing. So here we are today, and the gentleman is talking about systems, and this is the same thing. When I raised him out at the beginning of the show, you might not have heard me when I was speaking concerning some comments that Mr. Waldron made on an audio that is someone sent to me that was circulating. This is why I made the comment that there's certain things that existed before that we have to revamp and we have to review now. And there's certain foundational things. There's a biblical verse that says, if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? There's certain foundational things that you simply cannot remove. You can do whatever you like with the top of the house, Victor, but you can't do any what you like with the foundation. If you mess with the foundation, the whole house is going to collapse. So
Mhm.
you once your foundation is solid and is built well, you can do anything on the top. We have another
Mhm.
caller coming in. Good evening. This is the Marcia Week Show, and we are happy to have you joining us. Good afternoon. Please go right ahead and make your contribution.
Yeah, good night,
Good
Reverend,
night, sir. Good night. Good night to you.
and to
Good night,
Mr.
sir.
Newton as well. Good night, present good night.
Yes.
Louis, not Newton.
They are seeing things right now after all these years, more or less, that they have voted in, or they have voted in a government, fairly loud, both times, more or less, the kind of way. This government doesn't care much about the poor people. You cannot care much about poor people, because when you can come and preach to me differently on one hand about climate change, and then can come and sell all these beach lands or beachfront properties, and then turn around, you're preaching climate change, it's going to be warmer, harder, all kind of thing, and can come and tell me now about tint and cars, which you know that the tint of itself is help protect us from the ultraviolet rays, violet rays, more or less that kind of way. Now to come in now and tell me now about inspection now of cars 10 years and older that have to go to MTW in the point and they got to pay $125, I understand to say it is. As Mr. Newton there says, they're just going to be straddled with a whole heap of debt in a form, different kind of way, or expenses. When are you going to face them, going to face that music in the point? Because to start with, see all the roads out there, different kind of way. You want to drive everything. We turn up on one of the major roads, it's potholes. We talk about rotting, bottom arms, we talk about shock absorbers, we're talking cars, we're talking everything. So right now, these people are really looking to hauling a barrage of money along with the taxes off of gas, the gas, along with you're going to retake your vehicle, and along, here we're saying now, insurance is going up as well. So we can be straddled with a whole heap of expenses as pensioners, more or less, along the high food prices. I'm sorry to say, but there is going to be a soul surge, a new different surge in crime in this country. And promoting it or anything like that, but that is what happens when you place people or you force poor people more or less in a corner or an area, more or less that kind of way. That there's only one way out. You guys have a good night.
Thank you so very much,
Thank you
caller. We
so much.
appreciate
Oh,
you making your contribution. No, absolutely. As you have been saying, Victor, it is going to it's a challenge, because people are going to have to make a decision. If I bring the vehicle in to have it inspected, and to include something like paint work as a matter of a vehicle being roadworthy is absolute rubbish.
No, you go to
Absolute
Carbon.
rubbish.
What Carbon will do is give it a grade. They will say good condition, fair condition, poor condition. But that doesn't make you, not roadworthy.
Yeah, no, that's the point I'm making, because there is no way the finish on a car, the paint finish on a car is going to render that vehicle a danger to use on the road. I can understand if you're talking about things like tires and rod ends and those kind of things. Okay, I get it. I understand that. But as I have said, if you develop a relationship with your inspector uh, dealer, your inspector garage, they have a record of your service, in terms of how you've kept the vehicle, what they've done, what they've inspected over the years, and they will check. If you go in and they feel, okay, well, for the last couple of years we haven't checked, let's say for argument's sake, the rod ends, and we can take a peep at the rod ends this year. That's because they have a history with your vehicle in terms
Yeah.
of how they check it, and
But
determine
but
the
but
roadworthiness.
but Ferdinand, a bad rod end don't fail. A bad rod end, you will feel it in the steering.
Oh yes, you
It
will.
don't feel. It don't fail you. When you have steering knuckle, when you have a CB joint that's knocking, right? Those things you put into your budget as you go along.
Mhm.
So I want to say we have a standard. We have a standard. When you go to Carbon's garage, they have a standard that has been working for years. I would want the government of Barbados to bring for me and show me the statistics where in the issuance of roadworthy certificates by those garages that has been designated and approved to do so, show me where those failed. And if those individuals failed, now we need to move on to the next step. We need now to bring them to MTW. But no, those people have passed with flying colors because we've looked at the track record over the years that these people were issuing certificates on behalf of the government, and it has all worked. Nobody complained. Why are you gonna stick now to mobilize other items on the agenda to make the car dealers pocket fat, to make the government pocket fat, and the poor people of this country frustrated? I can hear the frustration in that gentleman's voice just now when he's concerned that he gotta look for this extra dollar to fit into his family budget at 65 years old. How dare you? Why subject retirees? Why subject this cadre of people to that? That is a financial tool, Mr. Ferdinand, mobilized by this government to bring in more cash and to frustrate the people of this country. And we, as I said, I saw up on the show earlier, we got to march on that one because that is an indictment now on the whole of Barbados. It was commercial vehicles. Now they have brought it to private vehicles. This means the whole umbrella of this country for all vehicles in this country that are insured and you are over 10 years old, you must find yourself going for roadworthy certificate. And they might make it mandatory for you to go to the point. And mandatory for you to go to the point, your baseline, according to the caller, $125. And I'm certain that the pockets of the car dealers will get fat. And if Trump decides to mobilize his tariffs on China, the car dealer is going to make your pocket fatter. And you, in the end, as a family in this country, going to end up to be more frustrated, and crime will do so and spike even further. We cannot afford to allow this type of government to exist in this country to mobilize things on the people of Barbados of this nature, because we can see already, based upon the quarters we had so far, that people are frustrated. Why should I, at 68 years old, be subjected to this? No, no. And I agree with you, Ferdinand. Land tax. When you retire, no, done.
Well, I think
Right?
there are a number of areas, that we need to review. I was having a discussion with someone. I won't say who
Mm,
they are. Won't call their name, but I was having a discussion with someone, and we spoke about the fact that there needs to be a review of much of what we're doing in the island, from the basis of hearing from the people. For argument's sake, the government makes youth policy, but do they go out and sit down with the young people on the block to find out what the young people want, what the young people are experiencing, what they're going through? But you're going to sit down in what I call your glass cathedral, and you're going to make up policy in a room among senior adult persons without consultation with the youth. And these are the kind of things, I don't even want to get back to the comment on the silly statements made by the gentleman who I mentioned earlier. But these are the things that people are speaking about concerning how governance is done in Barbados. And we are no longer in the Barra days. We are no longer in the Adams days. We are not even any longer in the Arthur days.
Mm-hmm.
We are in 2025, and I'm not going to say
Mm-hmm.
the Motley days because I can't. I would have to say the WEF days or the World Trade Organization or the World Health Organization, because I will stand by what I say, that there is not a single policy being implemented in Barbados that is not being directed from outside. And I have been around long enough to know how things can be secretly engaged. So don't try to come and pull the wool over our eyes. I believe it is this show tonight is called The Loyal Opposition Awake and Activated. That is what this show is titled tonight. We are not sleeping. People are waking up, and they are seeing, and they are realizing that much of what is being said to us is simply untrue.
You realize that the deputy prime minister, if we do have one of those, sought to bring this amendment to this regulation at a time when new buses were being driven from the port.
Sir, I am going to say this.
You realize the timing?
Wait.
Go
I'm going
ahead,
to
go
say
ahead.
this to you. I'm going
Yes,
to
sir.
say this to you. The global elitists have determined what is to happen in our countries.
Mhm.
We are to go green. We are to go green by 2035. It means that every fossil fuel using vehicle must be off the road. And I am not saying that that is intended, that is interpreted. When you talk to the average man on the street, that's what he understands. And so it would not surprise me in the least. I'm not saying I don't have anything to base this on, but it would not surprise me in the least if many of these policies that we are hearing is not circulating around that perspective, where we are trying to get these older vehicles off the road so that we can meet the criteria that the international global elitists demand of Barbados by 2035. It would not surprise me,
I don't
because
know.
we are seeing
I
an
know.
influx into Barbados of hybrids and electric vehicles. And I am warning people. I have seen this debunked. Toyota has made a decision to stop the production of electric cars. They are now producing a new engine. They are moving to the production of a brand new engine, one that works on steam and water. BMW and several other manufacturers are moving toward hydrogen propulsion. I hope people are following what's going on in the international motor industry, not in government, not among these people who are projecting some climate change and fattening their pockets. And there's a lot I can share with regards to that, but I respect certain things, especially when it comes to this show. And I don't want to be involved with having the show deplatformed or anything, but there's a lot of stuff coming from the manufacturers of automobiles that are telling me straight and plain that this whole push toward electric vehicle, talk to Ford, talk to GM, they have vehicles sitting now. They have 236 days of stock of electric vehicles sitting on their show floors outside and so on that are not selling. And the majority of them are EVs. People,
But
go and do your own research. Go do your
tell
own
me something.
research.
you know,
research.
you're hearing one voice in the West, and when you come to the East, in this same 166 square miles, I'm seeing Chinese crews. Chinese crews. I don't know if they mean done by you, but I'm seeing Chinese crews up by me. Crews, CREWS, crews,
Oh, dear.
going out digging holes, and they have not been planting banana trees, or breadfruit trees, or coconut trees. They're digging holes in the ground. What are they digging for? They're digging for water to get steam. You know, they're digging for lithium.
I don't
You
know what
know,
they're digging for, Victor, but you're
because
gonna have to.
something happened in Guyana, and now Guyana is on top, and their GDP now is flying through the air. You know, not because of a funk of
But
lithium,
you
but
know,
they
Victor,
found oil. They
you
found oil, and
they
Trump. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, they found oil off Barbados. You know, we got oil off Barbados.
My, you even hear that for a long time thing, you know.
We got
How is it
oil off
happen?
Barbados, and I don't want to
Yeah.
say anything, but it is
God.
alleged. It is alleged. It is alleged that there is activity going on off Barbados we don't know anything about. It is alleged.
Mm.
I'm saying it is alleged. Okay, because I have to be careful. But listen, Victor, I wish we could do more, man. Listen, we could go on all night, but Marcy would fire me and I will keep my job. And I know you will keep yours too. You know, we
Wait.
just, yeah, I ain't even, you know, they say that the time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, sir.
10, 11, my goodness, we have gone past the time. I'm sorry, Marcy, forgive me if she's listening to the show.
My
I
deepest apologies.
apologize. It is Victor's fault, not mine.
Yeah.
Victor, listen, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. I know many people have indicated so many things here on the show. I wish we could take a time, maybe in the hour, you know, the 9 to 10 hour to share some of these comments, but I know people are seeing them as we go through. There's so many comments that we are seeing on the chat. So many of them. But I want to thank you again, Victor, for bringing these things to our attention. To be honest with you, I was not aware of this. I had heard something in the ear, but I was not aware that the implementation of it had got to this degree. And so I really want to say to you, I appreciate and thank you for sharing it with us tonight. Again, the show is one that educates and informs. And we want to thank you for doing that for us tonight. It would be remiss of me if I did not thank all of you in the loyal opposition for being here tonight. We could not have had this show without you. And we want to thank you for your commitment, your dedication, your faithfulness. I want to encourage you to keep sharing and keep giving us the thumbs up so that our algorithms would be identified and push the show higher up so that more people can view it. And we just try to do our best here in terms of informing and educating and sharing with the people of Barbados. This is the people's show. It's not just the Marcy Week show. It's your show, Loyal Opposition. We see the comments, the calls that you make, and we try to bring information here that is often shared with us even after the show is finished. And so we want to thank you for being here with us tonight. And above all, I want to thank you, Dave, again, for this tremendous job you've done in the background. And I know many of the loyal opposition would share the sentiment. I know, Victor, you will as well. Dave, thank you so much for all that support that you give us in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to end the show, regrettably, but we want to thank you for being here. Have a great night. God bless you. Have a great night, Victor. God
Yeah,
bless
take
you.
care.
Amen.
When you take a look at this country, I know you see it red. I know you see it red. Because of my name, you may want to play me. Cause you see it red. I know you see it red. When you look at this project, it will get you upset. Where did we get so much money to invest so badly? When you look at their duty, a lot of sensitive, but it's a lesson in bad planning, and more money we spending. Greenland land will a stalemate, while mangroves still operate. You must hold your head and shout, oh lost, all them gave them fellas 26. So I know that you're seeing red, but you're keeping quiet instead. The situation of dread is when you see the treasury red. The only red they can blame me for that I will ask them without question is the sea of red down here at the stadium. When my people are wearing red, when my people are wearing red, why we waste money so heaven knows. I look sure on backside very close. Pussy! Hey! 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 The things you read inside your newspaper, I know you're seeing red. I know you're seeing red. Seems like every day you reading about murder. I know you're seeing red. I know you're seeing red. Crime and violence, you remember, the subject of so much laughter. Now we live in fear in this country. We carry you to quality. I hear you say the crime and tourism, but that's because now less tourists come. If there's to be hope for tourism, they must foster better relations. Criminals on the road just hanging out. Criminals in masks just walking about. And can't find your face in the rubber. Overworking with the counselor. Young people like lambs to the slaughter. Check your son and check your daughter. In the morning your offspring you're killing. In the evening your offspring is missing. So I know that you're seeing red. On the street the next one is dead. But you're fast asleep in your bed. While your streets glowing with bloodshed. If you ever try to blame me, that's a damn red herring you see. Don't if you read at the stadium, they can. Everybody, people are wearing red. I know that they're seeing red. When my people are wearing red. Know that they're seeing red. If a priest or pastor juggle your daughter. Know that they're seeing red. Do you call that crime white collar? I know that they're seeing red. Look at me, I came from Washington.
Well, God bless you. Thank you for